Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Night of Genocide. Get Simulator, Madam, you don't want anything to happen to Sasuke. Chapter 21. The next moment, the masked man chuckled, and then the whole person gradually faded and disappeared completely. Kamui. Chenny recognized it immediately. This is Uchiha Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan ninjutsu, Kamui. It can transfer itself or any object to another space to avoid attacks and pass through barriers. At the same time, it can also absorb and release itself to move quickly. It is a kind of space-type ninjutsu and is very powerful. At this time, a vortex slowly appeared behind Chenny, and the masked man revealed his figure silently. He held a kunai in his hand and stabbed it hard. Chenny seemed to be unaware from beginning to end. The kunai stabbed heavily. However, the scene of blood spurting out did not appear. Chenny, who was originally motionless, was like a bubble. The moment he was touched, he suddenly disappeared and shattered. Clone. The masked man was a little surprised. With his Mangekyo Sharingan, he didn't even notice that it was a clone. No wonder he could kill Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, in seconds. This kid is not simple. At this moment, the masked man suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis coming towards him. Divine power. The Mangekyo Sharingan ninjutsu was immediately released, and a vortex appeared, making himself virtual. At the same time, he turned his body and looked back. It was Chenny. He quietly deployed a clone to hide from the masked man's sight. Then he took action at the most unexpected time. He used this killing move. From the initial planning to the implementation process, even the masked man's reaction and response, almost all of them were the same, without the slightest deviation. This kid. I didn't expect that. I still underestimated him. The masked man couldn't help but shrink his pupils. The kunai fell heavily with lightning speed. After Chenny became a true cage-level strongman with wood release, his various abilities have been significantly enhanced. Especially after opening the Sharingan, his strength was greatly improved. Even if Chenny does not use wood release and does not open the Mangekyo Sharingan, he is still stronger than the average cage-level warrior. Especially in physical skills. With the enhancement of the Otsutsuki physique, it has reached a level that ordinary people cannot imagine. The divine power is gradually virtualizing the masked man's body. The speed of virtualization is very fast. However, compared with Chenny's speed, it is still somewhat insufficient. When the kunai fell, the masked man's divine power had not completely virtualized his body. Hiss. A gorgeous blood flower burst out in the air. The masked man groaned, continued to use the divine power, and the whole person's body disappeared completely. When he reappeared, the masked man was already several meters away from Chenny. The wide sleeves were torn, and there were a few bloodstains on them. It was exactly the place where Chenny stabbed just now. At this time, the masked man looked at Chenny with no contempt in his eyes, and truly regarded Chenny as an existence of the same level. You hid it really well. I didn't expect you could reach this level. I'm afraid that just relying on physical skills, he is no less powerful than a cage-level warrior. The Uchiha clan is better at physical skills. Ha, interesting. The novel was taken from the Raleigh's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Although he said so, the masked man did not feel relaxed at all, but was deeply apprehensive. Even though he had seen many talented teenagers, he had also encountered many incredible physical skills. But compared with Chenny, they were all very different. No matter how strong other people were, there were traces to follow. Ninjutsu and physical skills always had flaws. But Chenny's series of reactions were more like the body's instinctive reactions. He did not need to use any ninjutsu or physical skills at all, which was enough to deal with most people in the world. And it was completely casual, without any traces. That means, there is almost no clear way to stop it. This is a bit too perverted. Chenny sneered and looked at the masked man indifferently. He wanted to be low-key, but that did not mean he had to swallow his anger. He could not do it without taking action when being tracked and monitored like this. Appropriately showing one's strength can, to a certain extent, play a role in shocking the tiger, so as to avoid more trouble. Chenny's trump card now is, there are 3 Otsutsuki physiques, wood release, and Mangekyo Sharingan. Among them, wood release and Mangekyo Sharingan were obtained not long ago, and no one knows about them. They can be kept as trump cards to give everyone a surprise on the night of the genocide. The Otsutsuki physique was exposed when he fought with Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. However, no one thought that this was the legendary Otsutsuki physique, and it was more attributed to super high physical skills. This is also the reason why Chenny chose it. First, it has been exposed once before. Second, it is very deceptive, and even if he uses it again, others will not notice it. Thus, his strength is concealed to a large extent. The result is not disappointing at all. The Otsutsuki physique is worthy of being called the body of God and the immortal body. Especially after he was truly called a shadow-level powerhouse, his speed, endurance, self-healing, and resistance to blows have been improved to an incredible level. Even the shadow-level powerhouse like the masked man failed to react and suffered a little loss. Good. Very good. The masked man left such a sentence, then he slowly disappeared from the spot with his divine power activated. Of course, he was not afraid. As a strong man who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, he always had absolute confidence in himself. However, after the test, he found that Chenny was not someone he could easily deal with. Chenny's strength was somewhat beyond his estimation. The battle with a strong man of this level could not go unnoticed. His whereabouts would inevitably be exposed. That would be very detrimental to what he was about to do soon. This situation must not be allowed to happen. So, he chose to leave. For him, although this test was a bit unexpected, it was not completely in vain. At least, he knew that there was Chenny in the Uchiha clan. Such a shadow-level warrior with abnormally strong physical skills. Otherwise, if he knows nothing and has no preparation, changes are inevitable. But now, he can prepare and deploy well. It is difficult for him to deal with Chenny alone, but what if there are 2? 2 is not enough, what if there are 4? Unknown dangers are the most terrifying. As for the known, there is always a solution. After watching the masked man disappear into a vortex, Chenny sensed it carefully again, and after making sure that no one was following him, he left and walked towards home. He believed that after this lesson, the root organization, the masked man, and Jews should not dare to follow him without authorization. After returning home, Chenny did not miss any opportunity to practice and improve himself. Even for him now, the improvement brought by this level of practice is negligible. The practice path of a ninja is like this. Once you reach a very high stage, it will be very difficult to improve again. Only through accumulation over time or some adventure can there be a big improvement. But for Chenny now, even if it is only an extremely small improvement, it is precious to him. After all, the more strength, the more security. Practice for one night. Chenny had just arrived at the Konoha Guard Department on the second day, and he was called to the office of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan and the head of the Konoha Guard Department. Chenny, come in. Uchiha Fugaku's voice came from the office. Chenny strode in. In the room, in addition to Uchiha Fugaku, there were several people with very high status in the Uchiha clan. There were old men, and young and middle-aged people. Patriarch, yeah, Fugaku responded, raised his head, glanced at Chenny with a smile on his face, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes as last time. I don't know why, every time I see Chenny recently, I will give him a different feeling. And this feeling is gradually deepening. However, he didn't say much. Everyone has his own secrets, as long as it doesn't endanger the Uchiha clan, he doesn't bother to care about them. After Chenny came in, Fugaku ordered people to guard the door, and then ordered people to guard the door. He looked serious, as if he had some secrets that he was afraid of being known. After doing all this, Uchiha Fugaku asked everyone to sit down and prepare to say something. However, what he didn't know was that on an unknown high-rise building, several members of Konoha's Anbu were staring at all this. Uchiha Fugaku and the core members of the clan held a meeting in the guard department. Among them is Uchiha Chiba, who has never appeared before. Go and report to the Hokage immediately. Yes. A member of the Anbu took the order and disappeared in an instant. Inside Fugaku's office, Chenny and more than a dozen people gathered around a long wooden table. As the clan leader, Uchiha Fugaku sat at one end. Chenny had never participated in such a meeting before. But this did not prevent Chenny from knowing what they were going to do. As a time traveler, he knew clearly the current movements of the Uchiha clan. And the result was not beyond Chenny's expectations. After everyone was seated, the clan leader Uchiha Fugaku looked at Chenny and said seriously, "Chenny, a few days ago you killed Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Hidden Mist, alone, and demonstrated your strength. There are some things you should know. We, the Uchiha clan, are planning to rebel." "What?" Chenny pretended to be a little surprised, as if he couldn't believe it. Although he already knew everything. Wouldn't it be too suspicious if he showed no surprise at this time? "Clan leader, are we going to rebel?" Chenny looked directly at Uchiha Fugaku and said in shock. "Yes." Fugaku nodded and said in a deep voice, "The tense atmosphere between us and Konoha village must have been noticed by Chenny a long time ago. Over the years, our Uchiha clan has been excluded and harassed by the Konoha high-level officials. Not only did they drive us away from Konoha village, they also sent Anbu to monitor us day and night. Yes, this is intolerable. I have long disliked these people from Konoha. Rebellion. We, the Uchiha clan, were the great contributors to the founding of Konoha, but because of the exclusion by the Konoha high-level officials, not only do we have no power at all, but we were even squeezed here. The people in Konoha have always held deep hostility towards our Uchiha clan. If we don't rebel now, we will be forced to death by them sooner or later. Fight. The worst that can happen is that both sides will be destroyed." Fugaku's words quickly aroused the response of the Uchiha backbone forces nearby. They were indignant, their faces flushed, and they talked about the injustice of Konoha to the Uchiha clan. They just wanted to rush out and fight Konoha to the death. Chenny didn't say a word during the whole process, but just frowned, as if he was a little entangled and hesitant. "Chenny, what are you still hesitating about? Don't forget which clan you belong to." Next to him, a core member of the Uchiha clan immediately said dissatisfiedly. As a member of the Uchiha clan, he could remain indifferent and silent when he heard how Konoha persecuted them step by step. "It's really abominable." Fugaku hurriedly stopped them and interrupted these people's accountability. Then he looked at Chenny and waited quietly for Chenny's reply. In Fugaku's eyes, this was how Chenny should behave. If he agreed directly at once, he would feel that something was wrong. Chenny is low-key, cautious and meticulous by nature. He has already understood these very clearly from the previous missions. Every step Chenny takes is carefully considered, and he will never make a decision because of a momentary anger in his heart. What's more, being an enemy of Konoha is a matter of life and death, and it cannot be sloppy at all. After a while, Chenny slowly raised his head, looked directly at Fugaku, and said 3 words, "I join." Hearing these 3 words, the expressions of the core members of the Uchiha clan present relaxed. "Uchiha." Fugaku also stood up, walked in front of Chenny, patted his shoulder and said, "Okay. With your joining, Chenny, our Uchiha clan's rebellion will have a better chance of success. This time, our main target of the rebellion is the leader of Konoha's root organization, Danzo. It is precisely because Danzo kept interfering that our Uchiha clan is in the current situation. Our mission this time is to get rid of Danzo and take back the status that our Uchiha clan deserves." "What happens next?" Chenny asked casually. "Planning a rebellion is not an easy task. Killing Danzo may not be difficult, but what happens next? The Uchiha clan is certainly not weak, but it is still inferior to the huge Konoha. A head-on confrontation will not gain any benefits, but will only bring disaster to the entire Uchiha clan. In the end, it will still be difficult to escape the fate of being destroyed. You can't expect to reconcile with Konoha after killing Danzo." Although Chenny only responded verbally, he didn't think that the Uchiha clan could really accomplish anything big. But he still asked casually. He. Fugaku laughed and said, "We have just started to think about rebellion, and the details are still being planned. This is a major event for our Uchiha clan, so we should take a long-term view and not rush it." In response, Chenny just nodded, and said nothing more on the surface, but he was even more disdainful in his heart. Danzo and the root organization are about to take action against the Uchiha clan. But the so-called rebellion of the Uchiha clan did not even have a real clear plan. How could it succeed? Then, Uchiha Fugaku made some bold words in public. The backbones and elites of the Uchiha clan present were excited. Chenny was not interested at all. What Fugaku said was just empty words and unrealistic fantasies. In the end, under the high atmosphere at the scene, the rally ended. There were many backbone members of the Uchiha clan who wanted to invite Chenny to eat and drink together later. Now Chenny has officially joined them. Such a powerful person who can kill Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, is worth their efforts. Chenny refused all of them. He had no interest in contacting these people at all. There was no meaning at all. It was just a waste of time. It is inevitable that these people will feel a little unhappy when their cordial invitation is rejected. However, considering Chenny's usual low-key, withdrawn and unsociable personality, it is not too surprising. In the evening, Chenny returned home. This time, there was no sign of anyone tracking him. Just when Chenny thought that the masked man and Danzo would not make any more moves for a while, he suddenly found a figure standing against the wall in front of his door. He was not very old, about 13 or 14 years old. He wore the unique clothing of the Uchiha clan and carried a samurai sword on his back. He had a handsome face and delicate features. His long black hair was tied up casually. There were 2 obvious tear grooves on his fair face. Uchiha, Itachi. Seeing this figure, Chenny's whole spirit was tense almost instantly. This was a completely instinctive reaction. In the simulation, he had experienced dozens of life and death duels with the extremely powerful boy in front of him. But soon, he realized that this was in reality, and he returned to his usual calmness and indifference. He looked at Uchiha Itachi. "Are you waiting for me?" "Yes." Uchiha Itachi looked at Chenny calmly and nodded. "Would it be convenient for you to chat for a few minutes?" Chenny did not refuse. He could feel that Uchiha Itachi had no hostility towards him. The two walked back to the house together, brewed a pot of tea, and sat opposite each other. "You have also heard about what we, the Uchiha clan, are going to do." Uchiha Itachi spoke first. Chenny's eyes flashed, and he pretended not to know. While pouring tea, he said, "What are you talking about?" Uchiha Itachi said, "Rebellion." Chenny's hand that was pouring tea paused in the air, and then slowly sat down. As the son of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan and a famous genius ninja of the Uchiha clan, it was not surprising that Itachi knew the news. What was surprising was why Itachi found him here on this issue. He and Uchiha Itachi had no intersection before. Chenny paused slightly, then said, "It should be an uprising, right?" "Maybe, but what's the point?" Itachi frowned slightly, with a rare trace of struggle, hesitation, and pain on his face. For the Uchiha clan, wanting to be treated fairly and to regain their rightful status is an uprising. But for Konoha, this is a complete rebellion. There will definitely be a big battle between the two sides. When two tigers fight, both will suffer. No matter who wins, it won't be too easy. Other villages will definitely not miss such an opportunity. They will take advantage of the chaos. It is very likely to turn into another ninja world war. When Itachi was young, he witnessed the cruelty of war with his own eyes. Every time he thought of the bloody scene, he felt disgusted from the bottom of his heart. He did not want to see such a scene happen again. Chenny said calmly, "This is a conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha. It is difficult for us to change it. But, what if I can change it?" Before Chenny could finish, Uchiha Itachi interrupted. His expression was complicated, with struggle, hesitation, pain, and expectation. Chenny tactically picked up the teacup and took a sip slowly. Ordinary people might not hear anything from it. But Chenny was different. He knew what change Itachi was talking about. It was not to change the contradiction between the Uchiha clan and Konoha. It was to change the situation where Konoha and the Uchiha clan would fight and both sides would suffer losses. That is, the night of the Uchiha clan's extermination. As a member of the Uchiha clan, he had to wield the butcher knife against his own clansmen. No wonder even a man with a mind as strong as iron like Uchiha Itachi showed such an expression. Once the ninja world war begins, countless innocent people will die and countless lives will be lost. Itachi sighed, and his expression became a little lonely. Just as Chenny had imagined, Itachi and him had no intersection. At most, they were from the same clan and had met a few times. He came here because he had a major decision recently. Reason told him that this was the best choice, and he knew that he would definitely do it. But, he still wanted to get an affirmation. If Shisui was here, he would probably make the same choice as him. But, Shisui was gone. So he came to Chenny. This person who always liked to be alone and rarely get close to others. But whether it was Itachi's father Uchiha Fugaku, or his only good friend Uchiha Shisui, they all had a very high opinion of such a person. He wanted to know from Chenny what Chenny would do if he faced this choice. He needed a positive answer and wanted the answer he wanted to hear. But he was disappointed. Chenny sat in front of him and didn't say anything. Now, Uchiha Itachi has been brainwashed by the inheritance theory of Konoha. Where the leaves dance, the fire will continue to burn. The flames will continue to illuminate the village and make new leaves sprout. His few words could not change anything. It was even more impossible to prevent the Uchiha clan from being exterminated. Itachi did not wait for the answer he wanted. He was silent for a while, exhaled a long breath, and stood up. "Excuse me." Then he turned and left. Yes, this is the choice he faces. How can others give the answer? He sighed softly and walked forward. At that time, the sky had darkened. It was pitch black all around. Just like the road Itachi was about to take. It made him a little difficult to make a decision. However, one thing is certain. Since he has decided, he will never change it. Uchiha Itachi was walking alone in the dark night. Halfway through his journey, he suddenly stopped. "Come out," Itachi said calmly. In front of him, a vortex appeared in the void, and gradually a figure emerged from it. He was wearing a black robe and a samurai sword at his waist. He wore an orange mask with black stripes on his face, revealing only one eye. "Masked man, I didn't expect you and Uchiha Chenny have some friendship," the masked man said in his usual low voice. "It seems that everything is under his control." Itachi looked calm and didn't say anything. He didn't need anyone to say anything when he did things, and he didn't need to explain to anyone. The two were silent for a while, and after a while, the masked man said, "Itachi, there is a problem with our plan this time." "Trouble?" Uchiha Itachi asked back, with a hint of surprise. The masked man in front of him claimed to be Uchiha Madara. Whether this was true or not was not mentioned for the time being. One thing that could be confirmed was the strength of the masked man. This was a person who had opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, and his pupil technique was a very rare space-type ninjutsu. That was a ninjutsu involving space. He didn't know how lethal it was. But if it was a defense, even he was not completely sure that he could hurt the masked man. It could be said that he was inherently invincible. To be considered a trouble by such a person, it was definitely not simple. "Well, it's a big trouble," the masked man said calmly. "Oh, who is it?" Itachi asked. The masked man did not respond directly, but asked back, "What do you guess?" Itachi looked at the masked man with his eyes slightly narrowed. He and the masked man were both at the level of Cage, and those who could be considered troublesome by them should at least be Cage-level strongmen. And in Konoha, apart from the legendary 3 ninjas who were wandering outside, there were not many who had the strength of Cage. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, the leader of the root organization Danzo, and his father Uchiha Fugaku. In addition to these 3, there might be some forces hidden in the dark in Konoha. However, the current Konoha and the masked man are in a cooperative relationship. Konoha will not touch the masked man at all. In other words, no matter the hidden forces of Konoha, or the third Hokage and Danzo, they will not become a problem for them. The only one left is his father, Uchiha Fugaku. But this was already part of their plan, and they already had a plan to deal with it. Naturally, it would not be the trouble mentioned by the masked man. But who else could it be if not his father? Itachi's eyes showed a thoughtful look. For some reason, he always felt that he had overlooked something. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and a name suddenly popped up in his mind. A person who he originally thought was impossible, but a strong intuition told him that it was. "Is it Uchiha Chenny?" The masked man nodded. "What, he?" Itachi was obviously a little surprised. Just now, when he came out of Chenny's house, he didn't realize that there was such a powerful ninja in front of him. The masked man who claimed to be Uchiha Madara was so afraid. "Has he also opened the Mangekyo Sharingan?" Uchiha Itachi asked. "Only the Mangekyo Sharingan can fight against the Mangekyo Sharingan. This is a consensus. If the Mangekyo is not opened, the opponent is not at the same level." However, the masked man shook his head and said, "No." His Sharingan is still in the 3 Magatama state. 3 Magatama. Itachi was a little disappointed. 3 Magatama were a threat. He relies on physical skills, unparalleled physical skills. The masked man laughed. The ninjas of the Uchiha clan are better at physical skills, hey. Itachi quickly remembered. The previous description of the battle between Cheni and Kuroki Raiga was that they defeated the enemy with super physical skills. Physical skills. The Sharingan in the 3 Magatama state, coupled with unparalleled physical skills, can it pose a threat to him who has opened the Mangekyo Sharingan? He didn't believe it. Only those who truly possess the Mangekyo Sharingan know how amazing the ability of such a pair of eyes is. Even physical skills of the same level cannot gain any advantage when facing the Sharingan. Itachi looked at the masked man. You are too cautious. The Mangekyo Sharingan is enough to crush everything. Maybe. The masked man did not say much. If he had not experienced it himself, how could he believe that a person's physical skills were so exaggerated that even he was injured? But he obviously would not say this. After all, he now calls himself Uchiha Madara, so he still has to be cool. He just warned, Itachi, don't underestimate Uchiha Cheni, he is stronger than you think, and may even become the biggest obstacle when we implement our plan. Itachi Uchiha looked calm, said nothing, and walked forward directly. Because there was nothing to say. It is true that you should not underestimate any opponent. But at the same time, you must have absolute confidence in yourself. He has the Mangekyo Sharingan. Cheni only has the 3 Magatama Sharingan. Even if he has a stronger physical skill, it doesn't matter. The 3 Magatama can't be the opponent of the Mangekyo. This is the source of his confidence and his greatest reliance. Behind Itachi, in the darkness, the masked man stared at the young man who was always confident in himself, low-key and deep, and his eyes gradually became a little trance. This reminded him of some long-sealed memories. Konoha's genius ninja. When did he have such a partner by his side? They used to practice together, do missions together, live and die together. They are friends, brothers, and people who can sacrifice their lives for each other. And, Lin. The vision in front of his eyes gradually blurred, and gradually formed the shape of a girl. Short brown hair, dark brown pupils, and 2 purple patterns on her face. The girl was looking at him with a smile, and that smile was warm, sincere, and intoxicating. But soon, the picture in front of him changed. The warm and sincere smile on the girl's face disappeared, and became painful and weak, with a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Then, the whole picture shattered. Back to reality. It was dark. Uchiha Itachi had gone far away. Just like the people who were with him back then. The masked man's Sharingan turned even more blood red. The whole person trembled unconsciously. It is hard to imagine that this man called Uchiha Madara, who has always been calm and majestic, would have such a fragile side. He murmured in an almost inaudible voice, Lin, I want to create a world with you. On the Hokage Rock in Konoha, there are carvings of the successive Hokages of Konoha village since its establishment. The first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, was the ninja god who founded Konoha. The second Hokage, Tobarama Senju, was the pioneer of Konoha, and under his control, Konoha became more and more prosperous. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was the Hokage who truly pushed Konoha to the top. And the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, who sacrificed himself to seal the 9 tails in order to protect Konoha from being harmed by the 9 tails. For hundreds of years, they have been watching over the village and witnessed the village's step-by-step prosperity and strength. But now, there is another eye on the Hokage Rock watching all this. An eye emitting a blood-red glow. A masked man. The black robe rustled in the breeze, and the masked man stood on the Hokage Rock with his hands behind his back, quietly watching the village fall into silence. After a while, the single eye exposed by the orange-red mask with black stripes suddenly flashed, and he said in his usual low voice, You are here. Behind the masked man, in the darkness, a figure slowly walked out. Pale, with a hint of sick skin, long black hair, and golden vertical pupils. Evil and cruel. Just looking at him gave people a chilling feeling. One of the 3 ninjas of Konoha who had defected from Konoha, and now a member of Akatsuki, Orochimaru. He. Orochimaru laughed, looking even more sinister and creepy. The masked man said, You know everything about Konoha, right? Long before he came to see Itachi, he had already sent someone to find Orochimaru from the Akatsuki organization to help. Chenny was the unexpected link in the previous plan. He has the strength of a cage just by relying on physical skills. Even he, who has the Kamui space, suffered some minor losses due to carelessness. Although, with him and Uchiha Itachi, and Danzo's root organization hiding in the dark, it stands to reason that there should be no accidents. However, when it comes to the plan of the Uchiha clan, he must be 100% sure and cannot allow any negligence. Orochimaru had a somewhat inexplicable look on his face. He looked at the masked man with his back to him and said, "I'm just a little curious, who can make the legendary Uchiha Madara see it as a trouble?" The masked man turned his head suddenly, and the red light of the single eye exposed by the mask was a little brighter than usual. The whole person's aura rose instantly, like a dragon emerging from the abyss, with a strong sense of oppression. Orochimaru laughed and said quickly, "I am just curious about this person after all, and I don't have any other intentions." The masked man stared at Orochimaru closely, and the cold murderous intent lasted for a moment before slowly dissipating. He slowly said, "My identity makes it inconvenient for me to take action." Orochimaru did not say anything more about this. No matter what the identity of the masked man is, whether it is Uchiha Madara, it doesn't matter to him. The masked man has his purpose. And he also has his plan. The two were originally combined because of their own interests. There is no point in delving into other things. Uchiha Chenny? Orochimaru asked. He had learned some information about Chenny from White Zetsu before. Yeah, the masked man nodded, paused for a moment, and then said, "He is very strong." Oh, Orochimaru became interested. He seemed to have heard of this name before he defected from Konoha. But the impression was not very deep. He did not know it very well. But one thing is certain, that is, Uchiha Chenny was definitely not as outstanding as Uchiha Itachi among his generation. Otherwise, he would definitely have heard of it. What happened to make a ninja who was not very outstanding grow up to a person who made people at the level of the masked man a little afraid in a not so long period of time? Or, Uchiha Chenny himself is a person with high talent that can be compared with genius ninjas like Uchiha Itachi and Hatake Kakashi. But he has been hiding his abilities since he was a child. No matter which one of the two Chenny is, it is enough to make him excited. Especially, Chenny is a member of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha, Sharingan, interesting. Orochimaru could not help but stick out his slender tongue, licked his dry lips, and said with a somewhat cold smile, "I'll go meet him." Then, he disappeared from the spot with a body flashing technique. The masked man continued to stand there, looking into the distance. Orochimaru seemed frivolous. In fact, he was just as cautious as him. He didn't need to tell him anything. It would be good to give it a try. Knowing the opponent's strength in advance would also be good for the implementation of their plan. More importantly, with the addition of Orochimaru, he finally felt more at ease. You know, those strange things of Orochimaru would be a little tricky even for him to deal with. It was already very late at night, and everything was silent. Chenny was still immersed in his practice. Since he had the Otsutsuki physique, the degree of improvement in his entire body function could only be described as exaggerated. For so long, he had been practicing like this almost every day, and he could still maintain extremely vigorous energy without any sense of fatigue. Chenny closed his eyes and guided the chakra to circulate in his body little by little. If there was a member of the Hyuga clan with the Byakugan here, he would definitely be amazed at the shocking amount of chakra in Chenny's body and Chenny's extremely precise control of chakra. At this time, in the dark outside the house, Orochimaru approached silently and saw Chenny, who was practicing in the room through the gap in the window. There was a faint smile on the corner of his mouth, and he was watching everything in the room like a cold venomous snake. Almost at the same time, Chenny, who had originally closed his eyes slightly, suddenly opened his eyes. The Sharingan opened instantly, emitting a blood-red light. The direction he was looking at was exactly where Orochimaru was. Discovered. What a keen insight. Orochimaru was a little surprised. With his ability, if he wanted to hide, even a cage-level strongman would not be able to find him so easily. But now, he was discovered immediately after he just approached. Such a keen insight. He had only seen it in the masked man with unfathomable strength. However, the masked man had the Mangekyo Sharingan. And what Chenny showed now was just a mere 3 Magatama Sharingan, but he could reach this level. He now understood why the masked man valued Chenny so much. Uchiha Chenny. This kid is really not simple. Come out. Chenny stared at the place where Orochimaru was hiding and said lightly. Even though he had not fully opened his Mangekyo Sharingan, but was only in the ordinary 3 Magatama form, his insight was far beyond the ordinary 3 Magatama Sharingan. This was how he could find Orochimaru's hiding place in the first place. However, I originally thought that after defeating the masked man, no one would come to trouble himself again. I didn't expect that there would be someone so ungrateful. Hee, such keen insight. What a remarkable little fellow. After the initial surprise, Orochimaru immediately came to his senses and concealed his inner emotions. Since he had been discovered, there was no need for him to hide any longer. His whole body twisted and slithered like a snake, and he appeared in Chenny's house in an instant. It's you, Orochimaru. Chenny's expression was calm, and his voice was very flat, without a trace of emotion. Regardless of the fact that he was a time traveler, it was impossible for him to not recognize Orochimaru. Even if he had lived in Konoha since he was a child, he would not fail to recognize this legendary 3 ninjas. But why did Orochimaru come here? In his memory, Orochimaru did not appear on the night of the Uchiha clan extermination. How could it be? Orochimaru's mouth corners were slightly raised, with a faint smile all the time. His eyes were evil, cold, and greedy, and just looking at them made people's hearts palpitate and their hair stand on end. Uchiha Chie. Good, very good. I didn't expect that besides Itachi, the Uchiha clan had such a perfect body. No, that's not right, your body is even better than Itachi's. It's really fascinating. At this point, Orochimaru greedily stretched out his tongue and licked it habitually. He was very satisfied with Chenny's body. Because of the existence of the masked man, Uchiha Itachi might be a little reluctant to move. But for Chenny, he could act openly without any worries. He could even ask the masked man and Itachi to help him when necessary. Even if Chenny was stronger, could he be stronger than the 3-cage level strongman? Wouldn't he be in his pocket by then? Hearing Orochimaru's words, Chenny, as a time traveler, certainly would understand the meaning. In the original plot, Orochimaru coveted the power of the Sharingan. He once fixed his eyes on Uchiha Itachi's body. But he didn't expect Itachi to be so powerful that it was scary. It was not something Orochimaru could deal with at all. So he had to settle for the second best and chose Sasuke. And now, he actually made his wish come true. Chenny chuckled and didn't say anything. But the disdain and contempt in his eyes were already very obvious. Now he has the Otsutsuki physique, Mangekyo Sharingan and would release. There must be people stronger than him in the world, but at the level of Kage, he must be one of the strongest, if not the strongest. Orochimaru is certainly not weak. But it also depends on who you are comparing with. Chenny is not afraid of Orochimaru at all now, he has enough capital. And Chenny's reaction also made Orochimaru's expression change a little. Have you been underestimated? This is the first time in so many years. Boy, young people should learn to be respectful and know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. As soon as the voice fell, 5 or 6 large snakes suddenly jumped out from the ground and moved up at an extremely fast speed. Chenny had no time to react before he was firmly trapped and could not move his whole body. Is it only to this extent? It's really disappointing. Orochimaru looked up at Chenny with a scornful smile on his face. As early as when he appeared in the house, he had already set up a trap. What he was waiting for was to suddenly attack Chenny when he was not prepared and subdue Chenny. And the result? There was no surprise. It was even smoother than he thought. He even doubted whether the masked man was exaggerating. He was just a young boy, how could it be worth it for Orochimaru to do it himself? However, the result was not bad. It was worth it for him to get such a body that could almost be called perfect. While thinking about it, he was ready to take Chenny away from Konoha directly. As for the masked man's orders, plans, and the night of genocide, what did they have to do with him, Orochimaru? He didn't care at all. However, at this moment, Orochimaru's face suddenly changed. In front of him, Chenny, who was originally tied up by several big snakes and could not move, disappeared. And those big snakes were tied tightly to his body. Illusion. This is an illusion. But when did he fall into the illusion? Orochimaru's expression changed slightly, a little ferocious, and he was no longer the same as before. It turned out that when he was preparing to attack Cheni unexpectedly, Cheni had already set up an illusion in secret. And the illusion was very concealed, with almost no trace. Even he didn't notice it. Unknowingly, he fell into the current situation. No matter what you want to do, you can't hide from my eyes. Cheni said lightly. As calm as usual, no emotion could be heard. It seemed that catching Orochimaru, one of the legendary 3 ninjas of Konoha, was a common thing. Orochimaru's face was a little ferocious, and his heart was extremely restless. Sharingan, this is the power of Sharingan. Ordinary ninjas, even such a powerful being as him, have no room for resistance in front of Sharingan. Ah! Orochimaru roared, and spit out a big snake that was almost the same as the original from his mouth. As soon as it appeared, it broke through the window without entanglement and escaped. Apart from other things, Orochimaru's achievement in escaping is definitely not low. Even Cheni didn't react for a moment. Because it was too fast. And there was no need to conclude a ninjutsu, it could be released directly. It was really unexpected, and it ran away if you didn't pay attention. However, Cheni didn't feel too regretful. Since he could be caught once, he could be caught a second time. Next time, it won't be so easy to escape. What really made him pay attention was why Orochimaru came here. Originally, the Uchiha clan was exterminated. On the night of the 19th, there was no record of Orochimaru. Could it be that his appearance caused such a big change in the situation? Cheni made a slight guess in his mind and stopped thinking about it. It would take a few hours to conduct the next simulation. By then, the questions in his mind would naturally be answered. Now it is just a waste of time to think about it. It will be of no use at all. Cheni used the Sharingan to observe the surroundings, and after making sure that no one was watching around, he returned to his previous training state and began to practice. On the other side, Orochimaru successfully escaped from Cheni's residence and sneaked under the cover of the night. This brief fight with Cheni made him realize that Cheni was indeed a very difficult character. No wonder the masked man also came to deal with Cheni together. On the other hand, he really saw the power of the Sharingan. As early as when he was still in Konoha, he had coveted the Sharingan for a long time. It was only because of the powerful strength of the Uchiha clan and the intervention of Konoha village that he did not take action. And now, so many years have passed. He once again witnessed the power of the Sharingan. Under such eyes, all the calculations and ninjutsu that he was proud of did not work at all. As soon as he fought, he was defeated directly, without even a chance to resist. The Sharingan is really an extremely terrifying existence. But this can't extinguish his desire for the Sharingan at all. Instead, it makes him more eager to get the Sharingan. No, not just the Sharingan. Only the blood of the Uchiha clan can perfectly use this pair of terrible eyes. What he wanted was a perfect body. Uchiha Chia's body. Orochimaru was sneaking forward, and a vortex suddenly appeared in front of him. A figure slowly emerged from the vortex. He was wearing a black robe and a samurai sword at his waist. He wore an orange mask with black stripes on his face, revealing only one eye. That eye was glowing with a dark red light. Within the red light, 3 magatama were connected to each other, forming a blade-like shape. The masked man, have you tried it? You look a little embarrassed. The masked man said lightly. Orochimaru half squinted his eyes. He suffered a loss at the hands of a junior who was so much younger than him, and fled in a mess. He was even bumped into by the masked man. This made his face look a little ugly. After a slight pause, he regained his usual calm appearance and said, Uchiha Cheni, he is indeed a powerful character. When the plan comes, are you sure? The masked man asked. Orochimaru smiled, his face full of confidence. Even though he had seen Cheni's strength, his determination was still not shaken. Of course, no matter how powerful Uchiha Cheni is, he can never be a match for those two. Those two? The masked man asked. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue lightly, with a strange look on his face, and made hand seals. Immortal reincarnation. Bang! On the ground, 2 coffins emerged little by little and stood in front of Orochimaru and the masked man. Boom! The coffin door opened, revealing the corpse inside. The masked man's pupils suddenly shrank, and he seemed a little surprised. This is rarely seen in the masked man who always claims to be Uchiha Madara and shows himself calm and majestic. It can be seen that the existence in the coffin has a strong impact on him. Indeed, Orochimaru's words are very right. With these two people here, even if Uchiha Cheni has great ability, he can't think of reversing or changing anything. In a few hours, the system will be cooled down. What awaits Cheni will be the third simulation. In the first simulation, he obtained the Otsutsuki physique. In the second simulation, he obtained the wood release. After the end, he also obtained the Mangekyo Sharingan. What about the third simulation? Thinking about it really makes people feel extremely excited. Cheni sat in the room waiting for the time to come. Before that, he had asked for leave from the Konoha Guard Department in order to have a whole day to simulate. According to the conclusions drawn before, what happens in real life will affect the situation in the simulation. These 2 days have been relatively peaceful. What happened is relatively simple. In addition to the daily work of the guard department, there are 3 things. The first is that the clan leader Uchiha Fugaku told him that the Uchiha clan was planning to revolt. The second is the conversation between Uchiha Itachi and him. The third is Cheni's fight with the masked man. Of these 3 things, the first thing is the same as the trajectory of the original story. The Uchiha clan will definitely rebel. Konoha has been prepared for a long time. The only difference is that he knows it. However, Cheni has no intention of intervening. Therefore, the first thing had little impact on the simulation. Although Uchiha Itachi came to him, nothing special happened. It will not have any impact on the future. The last point is more important. His fight with the masked man. Although it played a role in shocking the tiger, it also exposed his own strength. During this simulation, the situation he faced was bound to be more dangerous. However, this did not make Cheni feel a little afraid. There was only a stronger excitement. He liked the feeling of facing challenges, meeting challenges, and then improving himself step by step in the challenges. In the second simulation, Cheni, who had the physique of Otsutsuki and would release, already had the ability to fight Uchiha Itachi to death. Now, with the addition of the Mangekyo Sharingan, his strength has greatly increased. What will happen when facing Uchiha Itachi again? And what new moves will the masked man have? Thinking of this, Cheni couldn't help but get excited and wanted to start the simulation immediately to try what level his current strength had reached. He exhaled a long breath and looked at the clock hanging on the strong. 10:38. Almost. There are less than 2 hours left. During the following period of time, Cheni did not practice ninjutsu as before. Instead, he sat at home, closed his eyes and rested, recalling the situation encountered in the last simulated fight. The experience and insights gained from fighting with Uchiha Itachi. Practice is definitely not just about working hard. It also requires thinking and brainstorming to sort out and summarize. From it, you can find many of your own advantages, and at the same time you can see your own shortcomings so as to improve yourself. Soon, more than an hour passed in the blink of an eye. The Uchiha Clan Extermination Night Simulation System has finished cooling down. The Uchiha Clan Extermination Night Simulation System is starting up. The Uchiha Clan Extermination Night Simulation System has been activated. As time passed, several lines of transparent text appeared in front of Cheni's eyes. The system starts simulating, Cheni said directly. The Uchiha Clan Extermination Night Simulation begins. The current solidified ability, Otsutsuki Physique Golden Ability, has a super strong self-healing ability, which is comparable to an immortal body when it reaches the extreme state. At the same time, it can also absorb ninjutsu, and the chakra it can possess is almost infinite. Therefore, it is also called the immortal body. Wood Release Golden Ability, a unique secret technique created by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. It is a kind of bloodline limit, which is composed of water and earth chakras. It is a ninjutsu that the caster uses his own chakra as the source of life. Currently available abilities. Illusion Master Purple Ability I Power Plus 100 Blue Ability Elemental Controller Purple Ability. As abilities appeared one after another, Cheni's face also showed a bit of surprise. In the past, most of the abilities that appeared were blue. White was also very common. Purple was much rarer. Gold could only be refreshed once a day. This was only the first simulation, and 2 purple abilities appeared directly. It was really rare. Chenny carefully selected them and prepared to start the simulation. Otsutsuki Physique Golden ability has super strong self-healing ability, comparable to immortality when in the extreme state, and can also absorb ninjutsu, and the chakra it can possess is almost infinite. Therefore, it is also called the immortal body. Wood Release Golden ability, a unique secret technique created by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. It is a kind of bloodline limit, which is composed of water and earth chakras. It is a ninjutsu that the caster uses his own chakra as the source of life. Illusion Master Purple ability, when casting an illusion, there will be a huge increase in power, and the resistance to illusions will also be significantly improved. Elemental Master Purple ability, when performing any attribute ninjutsu, the power will be greatly enhanced. Pupil Power plus 100 Blue ability, pupil power is slightly enhanced. There are 5 abilities in total, 2 gold, 2 purple, and 1 blue. It is truly luxurious. Ability selection complete. The simulation of the night of the Uchiha clan extermination begins. With the appearance of this line of transparent text, Chenny appeared in the very familiar scene again. The dark night, the cold wind blowing, different from the last simulation. When he just came into the simulation, he had already keenly noticed some abnormalities. This is the huge improvement brought by the 3 Magatama Sharingan after it evolved into the Mangekyo Sharingan. The keen perception told him that someone was approaching outside. There was only one person. Needless to say, he already knew the identity of that person. Uchiha Itachi. Facing this old opponent, Chenny did not hide an attack like last time. Instead, he sat directly in the house, waiting for Itachi to arrive. Before, even with Wood Release, Chenny could only fight Uchiha Itachi 50-50, and it was difficult to win. So some other means had to be used. But now, Chenny has opened the Mangekyo Sharingan on the basis of the original Otsutsuki Physique and Wood Release, and his strength has greatly increased. He is confident that he can defeat Uchiha Itachi openly. There is no need to resort to any other means. The atmosphere is quiet and solemn. Only the whirring of the wind and the almost inaudible footsteps can be heard. Chenny sat in the room, facing the door, sensing the footsteps getting closer and closer. Finally, squeak, the door opened. A masked boy walked in. Uchiha Itachi, you are here, Chenny said calmly. You knew I was coming? Itachi asked in surprise. He had never expected the current situation. Chenny laughed and didn't explain much. I'm here to kill you, Itachi said calmly, as if he was talking about something trivial. His tone was full of confidence. As he spoke, he took out a kunai. At the same time, the blood-red Sharingan lit up with a dazzling red light. Mangekyo Sharingan illusion, Tsukuyomi. He dared to look directly at his Mangekyo Sharingan at such a close distance. He was really courting death. Before coming, the masked man and Danzo had explained to him in every possible way. Uchiha Chenny was a trouble and not easy to deal with. Is this the result? It's really disappointing. The Tsukuyomi world was blood red. Chenny was hanging on the cross, unable to move. Uchiha Itachi stood in front of him with a knife in his hand. How can a 3 Magatama Sharingan block my Mangekyo Sharingan? Chenny, I don't want to kill you, but I have to kill you. Don't worry, under my monthly reading, everything will be quick and there won't be too much pain. The words stopped abruptly. Itachi suddenly groaned and trembled. When he raised his head again, the Tsukuyomi world that was originally full of red light had disappeared, and there were 2 bright red tears on his face. In front of him, Chenny's eyes were flashing with the same enchanting red light. The 3 Magatama in it were connected to each other, forming a blade-like shape. Mangekyo Sharingan. You actually opened the Mangekyo Sharingan as well, Uchiha Itachi said in a deep voice with a look of surprise on his face. He knew that he was careless. Because of the error in the intelligence, he mistakenly believed that Zhang Chen's Sharingan was only in the 3 Magatama state. Therefore, he would directly use his Mangekyo Sharingan illusion, Tsukuyomi. This ninjutsu has super power. Once hit, the opponent can lose all resistance in an instant, thus determining the outcome of the battle. But at the same time, when performing this trick, there is an extremely huge danger. If the target of Tsukuyomi's technique has a higher pupil power than the caster himself, Tsukuyomi will fail, thus backfire on itself. That's why Itachi had 2 lines of blood and tears on his face just now. But this situation is extremely rare. The Sharingan is unique to the Uchiha clan, which allows them to have absolute pupil power suppression when facing outsiders. When using Tsukuyomi on outsiders, unless the difference in strength between the 2 sides is too great, there will basically be no failure in the performance. And for people within the Uchiha clan, the Mangekyo Sharingan is also very rare. Over the past hundreds of years, the number of people who have opened the Mangekyo Sharingan can be counted on one hand. Who would have thought that today I would run into one by chance? You are not the only one in the world who has the Mangekyo Sharingan. Qian Yi stood up slowly and said lightly. The novel was taken from the Raleigh's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. This is the importance of hiding one's strength. It made Uchiha Itachi misjudge his strength. In addition, because of the blessing of the purple ability Illusion Master, his resistance to illusions has been significantly improved, and the blue ability Pupil Power Plus 100 has slightly enhanced his pupil power. With the blessing of all these factors, Uchiha Itachi was severely injured as soon as they fought. Itachi wiped the blood and tears on his face, and threw the kunai and shuriken on his body like crazy. At the same time, the whole person used the instant body technique to retreat violently and keep a distance. According to the masked man, Qian Yi reached the level of Kage by relying solely on physical skills. The strength of physical skills is incredible. And Uchiha Itachi is a genius ninja who is famous in the Uchiha clan and even in the entire Konoha. Any of his skills have reached an outstanding level. But yes, the reason why he became a Kage is because of his Mangekyo Sharingan and illusion. As for physical skills, although they are not weak, they have not reached the level of Kage. Obviously, they are not as good as Chenies. So Itachi chose to keep his distance at the first time to avoid physical confrontation. When fighting against others, you should play to your strengths and avoid your weaknesses. Instead of acting recklessly, you should choose different strategies to win the battle according to the opponent you are facing. Previously, because of carelessness, he rashly used Tsukuyomi on Cheni, but failed and suffered backlash. There is no need to compete in eye skills. Physical skills happen to be Cheni's strong point, so it is not a wise choice. And Itachi's advantage lies in his excellent ninjutsu and shuriken jutsu. If you want to win, you must find a way to start from these 2 aspects. In just a moment, Itachi had decided on the way to fight. Fire style, great fireball technique. Just after throwing the shuriken, Itachi immediately performed the ninjutsu without any pause. His movements were smooth and there was no lag, and the speed of the seal was also jaw-dropping. Looking from the side, it was as if countless shurikens still in the air were followed by a huge fireball. Before the shurikens arrived, the overwhelming heat wave had already swept over. In response, Cheni used the same ninjutsu to fight back. Fire style, great fireball technique. A huge flame gushed out of Cheni's mouth, gradually forming a huge fireball, rolling away. The dense kunai and shurikens, like raindrops, were blown away and melted before they even touched the fireball. It showed an exaggerated destructive power. It was much more powerful than the last simulation of releasing the same ninjutsu. This was because Cheni's 3 Magatama Sharingan evolved into the Mangekyo Sharingan, which brought about the enhanced strength. It was also because the purple elemental controller enhanced the fire style ninjutsu. Then the 2 huge fireballs collided with a loud bang, making a very loud explosion. The hot flames that could burn everything spread out from the explosion point, raising dust all over the sky. When they touched the leaves and houses nearby, huge flames were instantly raised. Everything around them turned into a sea of fire. What a terrible power! It was just 2 sea-level ninjutsu. Any chunin, even genin, could easily release ninjutsu of the same level. But when Cheni and Uchiha Itachi used it, it was so terrifying that it was amazing. I'm afraid that the aftermath of the explosion alone would be enough to make many Chunin-level ninjas difficult to deal with. However, Cheni and Uchiha Itachi, who were fighting fiercely on the battlefield, had no intention of lamenting these. The terrifying aftermath of the fireball explosion made them pause for a moment, and then they immediately fought again. The amazing amount of chakra and the unimaginable speed of seal formation were dazzling and breathtaking. The Uchiha clan was originally a family that was very good at fire escape. Now, under the performance of two cage-level masters, various fire-style ninjutsu are frequently launched, accompanied by shurikens and kunai hidden in them, and there is murderous intent everywhere. The two experienced more than a dozen clashes of ninjutsu. Even Cheni, who has the physique of an Otsutsuki, felt the huge consumption of chakra and was slightly tired. Itachi's pupil power was damaged at the beginning and suffered backlash. Now after consuming a huge amount of chakra, his physical condition is even worse. He half squinted his eyes, his head was full of fine beads of sweat, he was breathing heavily, and his condition was not good. It was not until now that he understood why the masked man made a special trip to find him and told him that Cheni was the biggest obstacle to the night of genocide. It was really amazing. It even made him doubt that even if he had not been careless before and rashly used Tsukuyomi and suffered backlash, he might not have defeated Cheni. With the Mangekyo Sharingan, his pupil power is not inferior to his. The confrontation in ninjutsu is equal. The physical skills are much better than him. Uchiha Cheni, for so many years, has been hiding really deeply. But fortunately, he also has a backhand. Cheni's expression was calm, with only a hint of excitement in the red Mangekyo Sharingan. He longed for a life and death duel with a powerful opponent. His blood could not help but boil. Uchiha Itachi was really an extremely powerful opponent. In the simulation, he was at the peak of his combat power since he had the system. 2 golden abilities plus Mangekyo Sharingan plus 2 purple talents plus 1 blue talent. His abilities in pupil skills, ninjutsu, and physical skills had all reached their strongest state. But even so, he still couldn't make a quick decision when facing Uchiha Itachi, who was backlashed from the beginning. He fought a ninjutsu battle and was evenly matched with him. However, it should be over now. He had a Mangekyo Sharingan and an Otsutsuki constitution. The amount of chakra in his body was much more than that of an ordinary cage-level warrior. Even so, releasing ninjutsu so frequently was a big drain on him. But compared to his huge amount of chakra, it was completely bearable. But Itachi was not sure. In an instant, Cheni jumped into the air and concluded a ninjutsu. Fire style, Fire Dragon Flame Bomb. From Cheni's mouth, 3 scorching fire dragons with the energy to destroy everything surged out. From the left, middle and right directions at an extremely fast speed, they flew towards Uchiha Itachi at the same time. This is a high-level ninjutsu in fire style, which has extremely high requirements for the amount of chakra and the control of chakra. But correspondingly, its power is also extremely terrifying. The scorching fire dragons burned the moisture in the air, destroying everything close to it and assimilating it into flames. This time, Uchiha Itachi did not choose to fight head-on, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. With his current chakra amount, he must be very careful. He can't squander it as he did before. He no longer has the capital to squander. Instant body technique. Dodge, dodge, dodge. Between a point and a jump, Uchiha Itachi moved at a very amazing speed. However, the 3 fire dragons with terrifying arrogance stared at him, and he couldn't get rid of them no matter what. Moreover, there were more and more approaching, trend. Finally, 3 fire dragons surrounded from different directions. Itachi had nowhere to hide. Boom! 3 fire dragons smashed straight down, sparks burst, and set off a sea of fire all over the sky. The terrifying heat wave spread to the surroundings, and even a few meters away, one could still feel the burning sensation. Solved. Cheni used the Mangekyo Sharingan to carefully observe the center of the sea of fire. Theoretically, if an ordinary ninja was hit by such a terrifying flame, there would be no possibility of survival. However, Uchiha Itachi was not an ordinary ninja, and it was impossible to judge by common sense. Suddenly, Cheni's eyes flashed. His Mangekyo Sharingan keenly sensed that there was some danger approaching on his left side. Although this feeling was very weak, but it still aroused his vigilance. Looking sideways, I saw a huge fireball rolling towards him. Fire escape, great fireball technique. Cheni raised his eyebrows. Is that all? This doesn't look like Uchiha Itachi. Fire style, great fireball technique. He used the same ninjutsu to confront head-on. Boom. A huge explosion, with a wave of air that destroyed everything rolling everywhere. At this moment, a shadow slowly appeared behind Cheni. Uchiha Itachi. He held a samurai sword in his hand and slashed at Cheni fiercely. The previous fire style, great fireball technique was just a cover. The knife that appeared behind him was the real killer move. At this time, Cheni was looking forward, his eyes fixed on the aftermath of the explosion of the fireball in front of him. It seemed as if he could see the trace of Uchiha Itachi in it. He didn't realize that the real crisis had quietly appeared behind him. Itachi's knife fell heavily with a lightning speed. It slashed at Cheni's neck, a fatal blow. However, the kind of blockage that the sword would cause when it slashed the flesh did not come. The sharp blade passed through the air. Cheni was like a bubble, bursting at the touch and disappearing. Clone. Uchiha Itachi's pupils shrank. He didn't expect that even with his Mangekyo Sharingan, he couldn't see through Cheni's clone. How is this possible? This is the Mangekyo Sharingan, which has extraordinary observation capabilities. Even if it was backlashed before and its pupil power was damaged, it is impossible for it to not see through a mere shadow clone. Could it be, is Uchiha Cheni really that strong? It's unimaginable. However, now what he should be more worried about is not this. Rather, since he cut down Cheni's shadow clone, where is the real Cheni? Almost instantly, Itachi's eyes widened suddenly. If he were in his place, he would definitely choose to attack at the right time and end the fight between the two in one fell swoop. And the most appropriate time is now. He turned his head suddenly. He saw that Cheni had appeared behind him without knowing when. With a kunai in his hand, he stabbed down heavily. That speed, that reaction, that unstoppable. This is the physical technique that killed Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, instantly. This is the technique that makes the unfathomable masked man so very cautious physical skills. Before, he didn't believe it. He thought that as long as he had the Mangekyo Sharingan, he could keep the situation firmly in his hands no matter what situation he encountered. But now, he found out that he was wrong. Relying on the Mangekyo Sharingan, he could see every move of Cheni. But the eyes could keep up, but the body couldn't react at all. Cheni was really too fast. It was incredible and unimaginable. Uchiha Itachi gritted his teeth and performed ninjutsu to avoid it. The kunai in Cheni's hand fell heavily. Hiss! Itachi uttered a muffled groan. A stream of bright red blood burst out of the air, but was immediately dried up by the hot air and disappeared. Only the faint smell of blood remained in the air. Bang! Cheni's kunai stabbed down heavily. Finally, it landed on a piece of wood. Substitution technique. Such a fast seal-making speed, amazing. The original Black Ho-Raiga had nowhere to hide under Cheni's physical technique and was defeated directly. But now Itachi, facing Cheni who is much stronger than before. Under the same moves, he can use the substitute technique. Although he is injured, he can still save his life. Such a fast seal-making speed, even Cheni now may not be able to do it. However, at this moment, behind Cheni, a figure quietly appeared in the air. A monster with a human head and a snake body appeared. Orochimaru. He has a bloody mouth and a sword in his mouth and attacks Cheni. At this time, Cheni had just stabbed Itachi's substitution technique and was still in the air. There was no point of force, and even if he noticed the abnormality at the first time, it was useless. There was no place to hide. Orochimaru's bloody mouth bit down heavily, and the Kusanagi sword and sharp teeth instantly pierced Cheni's shoulder. Bright red blood spurted out. Cheni's body also solidified in an instant, motionless. Stabbed. Orochimaru opened his mouth and licked the trace of blood stuck to the corner of his mouth with his tongue. He became more excited. He knew that the dust had settled. Cheni's injury was not fatal. After all, he still needed this perfect body to use. But there was absolutely no strength left to resist. He was sure. There was absolutely no one in the world who could be safe and sound after receiving this blow. Itachi also showed up, covering his injured left arm, and did not stand with Orochimaru. There was still a distance between the two. He did not trust Orochimaru. Especially now that he had just fought with Uchiha Chie and was injured, his overall condition was not good. If Orochimaru had any bad intentions now, it would be bad for him. Even if he only possesses physical skills, he is already a cage-level warrior, and he has also opened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Cheni really doesn't disappoint. Orochimaru's voice was full of teasing, complacency, and excitement. There was no doubt that Cheni was very strong, a cage-level warrior of the same realm as him, or even better than him. But what's the use of being strong? Didn't he fall into his hands? Itachi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Cheni was really terribly strong. Although he was reluctant to admit it, he had to admit it. In the battle just now, if Orochimaru hadn't appeared, he would probably be completely defeated in a short time. Even in his prime, he was not sure of defeating Cheni. This made him, who had been regarded as a genius ninja since birth, feel for the first time the feeling of defeat. But fortunately, it's all over. No. Itachi Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan instantly lit up with a blood-red light, and his eyes scanned the surroundings. Following closely, Orochimaru also suddenly became cautious. Because, in front of them, Cheni's body and blood disappeared without a trace. And they didn't notice it at all. What a terrible thing this is. Both of them had a guess at the same time. Cheni is not dead. Although they were very sure that Orochimaru had bitten him and there would be no mistakes. But this ominous feeling is very obvious. On the side of the two, under the reflection of the firelight, a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan flashed a charming red light. Uchiha Cheni. Orochimaru's face changed, with a bit of solemnity and surprise on his face. The red light emitted by Uchiha Itachi's eyes became brighter. Cheni was clearly bitten. There is no doubt about this. But he appeared safe and sound. This reminded him of a forbidden technique that belongs only to the Uchiha family. Izanagi, Uchiha Itachi said in a deep voice. Izanagi. It is said that it was born from the six-path sage's ninjutsu, creation of all things, and it is the ultimate ninjutsu that can change reality. Within the duration of this ninjutsu, no matter what kind of damage the caster receives, even death can be easily restored to its original state. Cheni's current situation can only be explained by this ninjutsu. But, not right. After thinking about it for a while, he noticed something abnormal. No, not Izanagi. The reason why Izanagi is considered a forbidden technique is not only because of its abnormal ability, but also because the price paid for performing this ninjutsu is also very high, that is, the eye that uses Izanagi will be permanently blind. Your eyes are not damaged at all. Unless, your Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique is Izanagi. Uchiha Itachi's expression changed slightly, and he could hardly hide his surprise. With his usually calm personality, such an expression rarely appeared on his face. This pupil technique is really too abnormal. It can be called the most perfect pupil technique. More importantly, ordinary Uchiha clan members pay a price with a Sharingan to perform this ninjutsu. And Cheni only consumes pupil power when performing the same ninjutsu. In comparison, the gap is too big. Cheni, who originally possessed super high physical skills and Mangekyo Sharingan, was already difficult to deal with. He could only rely on sneak attacks to kill him once by chance. And now, having Izanagi is equivalent to having an immortal body. No matter what kind of damage he suffers, it will be turned into a dream and instantly restored. How can he fight this? Cheni's expression was calm. He recognized that this was Izanagi after just one look. Moreover, he could quickly infer that this was his Mangekyo Sharingan. Sharingan ninjutsu. Uchiha Itachi is really powerful. However, this only makes him more excited. Itachi is now exhausted after the fierce battle just now and is no longer his opponent. Orochimaru is different. The last confrontation in real life was just a simple test, not even a fight. He has long wanted to have a real battle with Orochimaru. Cheni took a step and walked towards Itachi and Orochimaru step by step. Facing a cage-level strongman who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan and one of the three legendary ninjas of Konoha alone. But he was calm and eager to try. On the contrary, the masked man and Itachi were on high alert and very cautious. It seemed like they were facing something extremely terrifying. At this time, a vortex slowly appeared, wrapped Itachi and Orochimaru in it, and slowly disappeared from the spot. When it reappeared, in addition to Itachi and Orochimaru, there was one more person. Masked man. The three of them stood together on a large rock in the distance. Aren't you coming out yet? It's not entirely our job to deal with this kid. For some reason, the masked man suddenly said such a confusing sentence. There was silence in the air. There was only the sound of the whistling wind and the crackling sound of the burning fire. The masked man snorted coldly, "Let's go." Before coming here, he had slaughtered the Uchiha clan. Only Cheni was left in front of him. He had already got what he wanted. Since the people of Konoha didn't care, there was no need for him to stay. Chapter 31. Itachi and Orochimaru remained where they were, motionless. For Itachi, the masked man could leave, but he couldn't. He hadn't finished what he promised to Konoha. Konoha would naturally not fulfill the agreement with him. He couldn't leave yet. As for Orochimaru, he was more of a spectator. He was confident that no one could stop him as long as he wanted to leave. However, Itachi and Chie, two geniuses of the Uchiha clan, were fighting to the death. He didn't want to miss it. The masked man looked at Orochimaru, then at Itachi. He could probably guess why Orochimaru didn't leave. He wouldn't care. It's just that Itachi, his organization is preparing manpower. A powerful ninja like Uchiha Itachi is obviously what he needs. He doesn't want to give up a ninja who can be a powerful helper. But the current situation, Itachi doesn't want to leave. And he doesn't want to fight with someone as strong as Chie for Itachi. Konoha's people are surrounding him. No matter whether he wins or loses in the end, it will only be a miserable victory or a miserable defeat. Wouldn't Konoha be able to deal with him by then? Just like Itachi was always wary of him. He was also wary of Konoha, especially Danzo. The relationship between them was just a cooperative relationship of mutual benefit. There was no trust at all. So, make a quick decision and leave. Since Itachi was unwilling to leave, he had no choice. It would be a pity to give up such a ninja who could be a powerful helper. But Itachi was not the only powerful ninja who could be a helper. He couldn't take too much risk for Itachi. A vortex appeared, and the masked man's body was also fading at a very fast speed. At this time, in the dark night illuminated by the fire, the figures of ninjas began to appear. They were wearing basically the same clothes as the Konoha Anbu, only the masks on their faces were more weird. Konoha's root organization. In an instant, countless ninjas appeared from the dark at the same time. At a glance, it seemed densely packed. There were probably nearly 100 people, surrounding Cheni in the center. At the back, Danzo walked out slowly. The masked man who was about to fade into the Kamui space also stopped temporarily and stayed. He looked deeply at Danzo standing at the back, and was obviously still very dissatisfied with Danzo's attitude of watching the fire from the other side of the river. Cheni couldn't help but curl his lips when he saw this. Come again. In the last simulation, he was finally defeated by the combined forces of nearly 100 root organization ninjas, masked men, Itachi and Danzo. It was the same this time. Really, is there no other trick? However, there is no doubt that this trick is quite useful. An ordinary root organization ninja may not be scary. But when nearly 100 root organization ninjas gather together, they will form a powerful force. Even the current Cheni can feel extraordinary pressure when facing it. On the other side, after Danzo appeared, he immediately signaled the root organization ninjas to take action. In an instant, nearly 100 root organization ninjas received the order and released ninjutsu at the same time. Water style, water dragon bullet. Earth escape, Tulong gun. Lightning escape, thunder ball. At one time, nearly 100 ninjutsu of different attributes attacked Cheni at the same time. There were fire escape, lightning escape, water escape, lightning escape, wind escape. Individually, the power was not amazing. But now gathered together, it became a terrifyingly strong force. From the side, it was extremely spectacular. Cheni stood with his hands behind his back. The firelight all over the ground made his delicate face flicker. The breeze blew, blowing his clothes and a strand of hair on his forehead. Taishan collapsed in front of him without changing his face, and the yellow river burst his mouth without panic. Don't say that it is now in a simulation. Even if it is really in real life, facing no matter how unfavorable the situation is, it is impossible for him to have a slight change in his heart. With Cheni's current strength, if he wants to leave early, who can stop him? But he still stays here, waiting for the night of genocide. Waiting for the powerful Uchiha Itachi, Orochimaru and the mysterious masked man. Waiting for the root organization Danzo, who was hiding in the dark and watching everything like a poisonous snake. In order to be able to fight with these powerful ninjas, to hone himself and improve his strength in the real life and death battle. Instead of thinking about how to survive when the night of genocide comes, nearly 100 ninjutsu of different attributes attacked Chenny at the same time. Chenny's expression remained unchanged and began to conclude ninjutsu. Wood release, wood dragon technique. Instantly, an extremely thick tree rose from the ground. It grew rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Finally, it broke out of the ground and formed a terrifying wooden dragon. The wooden dragon had a huge body of nearly 100 meters long, and its whole body seemed to be made of molten iron, full of shocking power. That is, the wood release of the first Hokage. When did the Uchiha clan master wood release? Seeing this situation, Danzo couldn't help but shrink his pupils and said in a deep voice. That's wood release. The first generation of Hokage, the god of ninja, Senju Hashirama's unique bloodline. For so many years, he has been secretly studying it at all costs, trying to pry open the secret of wood release from other directions. But the final result was not satisfactory. Although some achievements have been made, it is undoubtedly still a long way from the level of Senju Hashirama. I didn't expect to see it today in a member of the Uchiha family. Moreover, watching Chenny perform would release to the same extent as the legendary Senju Hashirama. It brought him an unimaginable shock. However, this shock only appeared at the beginning, and then it changed little by little and became greed. Possessing the Mangekyo Sharingan and the wood release technique, Uchiha Chie, this kid is really a treasure. Danzo narrowed his eyes and said to the two ninjas of the Root organization on his left and right, "Go, capture him and bring back his body." Beside him, two ninjas said nothing, just bowed their heads and saluted, then disappeared in an instant. Hearing this, Orochimaru narrowed his eyes with a bit of coldness. He had long regarded Chenny as his own possession, so how could he tolerate others getting involved? Mangekyo Sharingan, wood release. Good, very good. It's really a perfect body. If he can occupy this body, his achievements are limitless. However, now is not the time to make a move. He has a very strong intuition that Chenny will never die like this. On the other side, Uchiha Itachi's face under the mask had a somewhat complicated and lonely look. I thought that Chenny was at most on par with him, but now, watching Chenny's trump cards one after another. Izanagi, wood release, and the seemingly endless Shikara. It's really amazing. Wang's strength. Uchiha Itachi, a famous genius ninja in the Uchiha clan and even in the entire Konoha. All along, it has been others who are chasing after him from behind. And this time, he himself has finally become the one chasing after others. The masked man has different thoughts in his mind. In addition to surprise, he also has some admiration for Chenny. If such a powerful ninja can be used by him, it will definitely be a great help. In the center of the battlefield, a wooden dragon soared in the air, protecting Chenny in the center. Nearly 100 ninjas released by the Root organization followed one after another and smashed hard on the wooden dragon. Boom, boom. The huge power generated by the energy explosion stirred up thick gray smoke in the air. How's it going? Is it over? Maybe. No one can survive such an attack. Their experience tells them that no matter how strong a person is, he will not survive the simultaneous attack of nearly 100 people. But they saw it clearly just now. Chenny was obviously bitten and died on the spot, but for some reason he was miraculously resurrected in the end. So, no one is sure whether Chenny is still alive. Everyone present stared at the center of the battlefield, where Chenny was. However, because the smoke produced by the explosion was too thick, most people could not see clearly. Even Uchiha Itachi, who has super high pupil power, the masked man, and a few Root organization ninjas with Byakugan could only barely see some traces and could not see everything. Suddenly, the masked man moved. The whole person's body began to fade and moved into the Kamui space. Uchiha Itachi and Orochimaru also performed the instant body technique and retreated. Disperse. He's still alive. A Root ninja with a Byakugan shrank in shock. What? All the Root ninjas present, including Danzo, were shocked and were about to retreat. But at this moment, countless trees on the ground suddenly broke out of the ground, winding upwards and entwining like thick pythons. Many Root ninjas were entangled before they could react and could not move. Some ninjas wanted to lend a hand to help their companions out of the predicament, but no matter what ninjutsu or means they used, they could not break through at all. Instead, they themselves could not escape and were tied up by the thick tree trunks. Seeing this, Danzo made a prompt decision and ordered all the root ninjas to give up rescue and temporarily retreat to a safe place in the rear. The gray smoke in the center of the battlefield gradually dissipated. Chenny also gradually revealed his figure. He stood alone with his hands behind his back. In his eyes, the Mangekyo Sharingan exuded a charming red light, as if it had powerful magic. Around him, the huge, hard, and indestructible body of the wooden dragon that originally protected him in the center, which was like molten iron, had completely shattered and scattered. On the ground, it lost its original power. Just now, Chenny used wood dragon technique to protect himself. After all, facing the attacks of nearly 100 ninjas from different angles, even if one has superb physical skills, it is difficult to dodge by relying on the instant body technique. One can only use absolute defense to resist. Therefore, he directly took out the ninjutsu of the first generation Hokage, the ninja god Senju Hashirama, wood dragon technique. This is a very powerful ninjutsu. It once shined in the hands of Senju Hashirama. Even the strongest of the nine-tailed beasts, the nine-tailed, was firmly suppressed by the wood dragon and could not move. Now in Chenny's hands, with his shadow-level strength, he can also block the simultaneous attacks of nearly 100 root organization ninjas. There was a hint of excitement in Chenny's eyes. In the last simulation, although he would not die directly when the root organization ninjas attacked at the same time, he would undoubtedly suffer some injuries. But now, it is true that the wood dragon is shattered, but he himself has not been affected at all. It's just that a lot of chakra has been consumed again. What? Surprisingly, unharmed at all. How is this possible? He survived such an attack without any injuries. All around, the root ninjas who had temporarily retreated to the side could not hide their shock. It was surprising enough that Chenny could survive. But it was not completely incomprehensible. After all, there was a precedent of someone being stabbed in the chest by a masked man before and still surviving. However, being unscathed was a bit too outrageous. This was nearly 100 ninjas attacking at the same time. Even their leader Danzo, or even the current Hokage, could do this. Danzo, the masked man, Orochimaru, and Itachi's faces were not calm. Could it be Izanagi again? Otherwise, how could he have survived? That would be too surprising. Don't be afraid, he must be at the end of his strength. No one can withstand such an attack without paying a huge price. Danzo half squinted his eyes and said in a deep voice. Even if there is, it is definitely not something Chenny can do. As the leader of the root organization, he certainly knows those powerful beings who are truly beyond the level of Kage. For example, the first generation Hokage of Konoha, Senju Hashirama, or the legend of the Uchiha family, Uchiha Madara. These people are definitely capable of resisting the attacks of hundreds or even thousands of people on their own. But this is obviously not what Chenny can achieve now. Well, ordinary Uchiha clan members will pay the price of a Sharingan to cast Izanagi. The reason why Uchiha Uchiha didn't lose an eye is because Izanagi is his Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique. However, there must be limits. Such a powerful eye technique cannot be used without limits. Uchiha Itachi also spoke. As one of the few ninjas in the Uchiha clan who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, he knew clearly what he would pay for using the Mangekyo Sharingan eye technique. Just like his Tsukuyomi, it is not only the failure of the use that will backfire. Excessive use of the Sharingan will also have a great negative impact on oneself. Not long ago, Chenny had just used Izanagi, and he used it again so quickly. He didn't believe that Chenny would be completely safe and sound as before. The masked man looked calm on the outside, maintaining his usual deep and majestic appearance. But there was a trace of doubt in his heart. This was related to himself. He himself was an ordinary Mangekyo Sharingan, not an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. However, he can use Kamui frequently with minimal negative impact on himself. This is because of Hashirama's cells. Uchiha Chie does not have Hashirama's cells, but he has wood release. Hashirama Senju, who has wood release, can achieve sealess healing. Then Chie, is it possible that he can also do this? However, He did not express this doubt directly. After all, with his ability, he can leave whenever he wants, and he does not need to care about the lives of Danzo and others. In Orochimaru's cold eyes, greedy desires became heavier. Chie's performance really made him more and more satisfied. No matter what, he must get this body. Go. Danzo raised his hand. The remaining root ninjas nearby used the instant body technique and surrounded Chenny again. Chenny also chose to take the initiative. On the battlefield that had become a ruin, Chenny was flying and moving at a very fast speed. Around him, countless ninjutsu fell with powerful force, making bursts of roars and smashing all kinds of deep pits on the ground, but not even one of them could touch Chenny. Wood release, grafting technique. As the ninjutsu was performed, several long wooden thorns grew out of Chenny's arms. Chenny moved quickly while throwing the long thorns that grew out. The long thorns flew towards the ninja of the root organization. The speed was so fast that ordinary people could not even see it clearly. I saw that the spikes were still in Chenny's hands in the last second, and the next second, the spikes had appeared on his body. The long thorns were stained with blood, and under the control of Chenny's chakra, they grew wildly from the inside to the outside and spread outward. Puff! Blood spurted out. A ninja of the root organization was covered with spikes, and his death was horrible. It didn't even look like the ninja was stabbed by the spikes. It was more like the ninja grew on the spikes. And this situation is not an isolated case. Chenny used super high physical skills and extremely fast movement speed to fly on the battlefield. Wherever he went, he was accompanied by screams and blood spurting out. Danzo's face was ashen. All the ninjas of the root organization were carefully selected by him. And each of them was loyal to him. Now they were being slaughtered so wantonly, which made him a little bit unbearable. The veins on his forehead bulged, and he clenched his fists. The masked man's face under the orange-red mask was not calm. Wood release, insertion technique. Isn't this his ninjutsu? How did Chenny know it? And he was so skilled. With the blessing of such a superb physical skill, the power displayed was even better than his. Moreover, the scene of Chenny's massacre reminded him of some scenes that he didn't want to remember. In the past, he also killed people wantonly on the battlefield like Chenny. Lin, why don't you make a move? Danzo said to the masked man. The masked man just watched all this calmly and ignored it. Chenny was Konoha's trouble, not his. He didn't need to care at all. He called Orochimaru and made so many preparations in order to make the Uchiha clan extermination night plan go smoothly. Now, the plan has been implemented almost. He has already got the things. Danzo can't threaten him at all, and he doesn't have to listen to Danzo. Seeing that the masked man did not answer and obviously had no intention of attacking, Danzo's face became even gloomier. He turned his head and looked at Itachi, saying, "Itachi, take action and kill him. Don't forget the promise we made to each other." Itachi frowned slightly, looked at Danzo, and finally chose to obey. Just as he was about to go forward, Orochimaru suddenly said beside him, "Give me the boy's body, I can do it." Danzo frowned. Orochimaru had lived in Konoha for so long. He and Orochimaru had a lot of intersections. How could he not know what Orochimaru was thinking and what he wanted to do? However, he did not refuse, but nodded and uttered two words. Yes, the ability displayed by Chenny was beyond his imagination. Without exposing his own strength, it would be difficult to retain Uchiha Chenny by relying solely on the ninjas of the root organization. He could only seek help from outside forces. The masked man clearly would not take action. Uchiha Itachi had fought a big battle with Uchiha Chenny before and was injured. He was afraid that he would be powerless. The only one he could rely on was Orochimaru. This former one of the three ninjas of Konoha. Since he said such a thing, he must have a certain degree of confidence. However, whether he can do it or not, he will have to wait until he takes action to know. With the strength displayed by Uchiha Chenny, even if he wants to take him down, it should be difficult. It is even possible that both sides will suffer losses. At that time, what will happen in the end depends on what he wants to do. Good. Remember what you said, Orochimaru said with his usual smile. Just like Danzo knew him very well. He knew Danzo well. Even if he couldn't guess all of what Danzo was thinking and what he would do, he could guess most of it. However, he still chose to do it, because he had absolute confidence in his own ninjutsu. At that time, no matter what Danzo thought in his heart, he could only watch them leave obediently and dare not interfere. To put it bluntly, all he wanted was Danzo's words. Orochimaru took a few steps forward, began to make hand seals, and performed ninjutsu. Spiritual summoning technique, impure world reincarnation. Boom. On the ground, two coffins emerged little by little and stood in front of several people. Some complex symbols were carved on the coffins. Bang. The coffin lid opened, revealing the figure inside. The one lying in the coffin on the left. Long black hair, black tight combat uniform, with red laminated armor. There is a very obvious mark on the laminated armor on the left shoulder. That is the mark of the Senju clan. The one lying in the coffin on the right. Silver hair and red eyes, with 3 red marks on the cheeks, and an iron forehead guard on the head. Wearing a black tight combat uniform, with blue laminated armor on the outside, and a white down collar on the shoulders connected to the back. This is the first Hokage and the second Hokage. Soon, everyone present saw the identities of the two people in the coffin and said in shock. The two noble and great Hokage in their hearts were summoned in this way. Became a killing tool for others. Even the ninjas of the Root organization, who were always dark and treacherous, could not help but change a little bit in their hearts. Impure world reincarnation, a forbidden spiritual technique that brings the dead back to life. How could you fool the dead like this? And you are our Hokage. They are using our Hokage as a tool. For a moment, everyone was somewhat indignant. Of course, the ninjas of the Root organization would know Orochimaru. Yes, because of Danzo's orders and the ideological education they have always received, even if there is something in their hearts, they can temporarily endure it and ignore it. But now, their own Hokage was toyed with like this, which made them a little unbearable. Orochimaru noticed this and just smiled, looking nonchalant. In fact, the reactions of these people made him feel more interesting. Danzo looked at Orochimaru with a little more fear in his eyes. Originally, even though he knew that Orochimaru was not an ordinary person, he didn't take it too seriously. But now, Orochimaru actually summoned the first and second generations directly. He knew very well how strong these two were, especially the first generation, who was in existence known as the God of Ninja. If Orochimaru really controls such power, if he really controls such power, he can walk sideways wherever he goes, so why should he negotiate with him? Thinking of this, Danzo let out a long breath, and all the worries in his heart gradually dissipated. He already had the answer in his heart. He signaled the ninjas of the Root organization not to meddle. Now, the top priority is to capture Uchiha Cheni as soon as possible. As for the others, he doesn't care what means Orochimaru used as long as he can capture Cheni. Uchiha Itachi, who was standing aside, quickly figured it out after the initial surprise, and just watched indifferently. He just wanted to see how much the first and second generations reborn from the impure world reincarnation could reach the level of their peak period back then. Sir, the first Hokage, the second Hokage, I'm sorry. Orochimaru had a playful smile on his face. He opened his mouth and took out 2 talismans filled with spells and placed them in the bodies of the first and second Hokage. The feeling of controlling the high and mighty figures gave him an extraordinary pleasure. Almost at the same time, the bodies of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and the second Hokage began to change. They were slowly filled with life and looked less and less like corpses. Finally, the fingers moved. The head that had been hanging down slowly raised up. Now, except for the empty and dark eyes, there is almost no obvious difference between them and ordinary people. The people around were amazed. He, done, Orochimaru said with a smile, but his smile was inevitably a bit cold. He was very satisfied with the results of this impure world reincarnation. He formed seals with both hands again. The first and second generation Hokage, who were originally standing in place, suddenly moved. They ran towards Cheni with big strides. Almost everyone looked over. They all wanted to see how powerful this impure world reincarnation technique was. And how long Uchiha Cheni could last under the hands of the first and second generation Hokage. And Cheni soon noticed the abnormality here. The moment he saw the first and second generation Hokage, he immediately reacted and realized what was going on. Impure World Reincarnation. These are the first and second generation Hokage reborn from the Impure World Reincarnation. The root ninjas who had surrounded Cheni retreated and stood far away. The battle just now has proved that even if they fought together, they would not be Cheni's opponents. And now, the first and second generation Hokage who were reborn from the Impure World Reincarnation are about to arrive. In such a battle between cage-level strongmen, they can't help at all. They will only become a drag. I'm afraid that the aftermath of such a battle alone is not something they can bear. Retreating immediately is the most reasonable and the best way. And Cheni did not stop these ninjas from leaving. He stood in place, and his eyes were looking in the direction of the first and second generation Hokage. Uchiha Itachi, Orochimaru, and even so many root ninjas could not bring him too much of a challenge. He needs truly powerful ninjas like the first and second generations as opponents. Continue to sharpen yourself and become stronger. In the silent night, under the sky of fire. As his mood changed, the red light of Cheni's eyes and Mangekyo's Sharingan became more brilliant. Simulation failed. A line of transparent text appeared in the void. It represented the failure of Cheni's first simulation on the third day. Under the siege of the first and second generation Hokage. In the end, Cheni was inevitably defeated. After all, these two Hokage are well known and powerful even in the entire Konoha and even the entire ninja world. Especially the first generation Hokage, Senju Hashirama, who was completely regarded as the god of ninja. He was even more powerful than people could imagine. Especially in the use of wood release. The first generation Hokage Senju Hashirama used wood release against wood release. In one confrontation after another, Senju Hashirama used his rich experience in fighting the enemy. He gave Cheni a lot of inspiration. Even people sighed from time to time that wood release could be used like this. There is also the second generation Hokage Senju Tobarama. His strength may not be as strong as the first generation Hokage. But it should never be underestimated. There are many ninjutsu, which are dazzling and eye-opening. Especially the use of Flying Thunder God, it has reached an extremely high level. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as elusive. The combination of these two, at the level of Kage, is probably difficult for anyone to deal with. Cheni exhaled a long breath, letting his mind gradually become stable in order to deal with the next simulation. At the same time, he kept summarizing the changes that occurred in this simulation. Among them, the most different point is the arrival of Orochimaru. At first, it was a sneak attack. Fortunately, Cheni had the Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique Izanagi, so he survived. Then came the first generation of Hokage and the second generation of Hokage summoned by the Impure World Reincarnation. Although, this is obviously not the first and second generation of Hokage with the most peak strength. Especially the first generation, it is possible that it does not even have half of its strength. As a time traveler, Cheni certainly knows this. The current Impure World Reincarnation is not perfect enough. It is impossible to exert the abilities of the reincarnated person before his death. It was not until more than 10 years later, when the Fourth Ninja World War began, that Kabuto Yakushi used White Zetsu as a sacrifice and perfected the ninjutsu of Impure World Reincarnation. This greatly enhanced the ability of the reincarnated, and was able to restore most of his strength in his lifetime. But even so, the first and second generations still showed extremely powerful abilities. Their combination is probably something that few ninjas at the level of Kage can deal with. Cheni has the Otsutsuki physique, the Mangekyo Sharingan, and the wood release. With his current strength, he is enough to defeat opponents like Orochimaru, and even when facing the combination of Orochimaru and Itachi, he will not be under too much pressure. But he is still a little insufficient in the combination of the first and second generations. After a fight, he was still defeated. Cheni squinted his eyes. He realized that as he became stronger little by little, the situation and opponents he faced were also changing little by little. At the beginning, his opponent was just a ninja from the root organization. Later, it became Uchiha Itachi. Now he has to face Uchiha Itachi, Orochimaru, Danzo, masked men, and nearly 100 root ninjas alone. In the end, even the first and second generation Hokage appeared. If the simulation continues like this, who knows who will be involved in the end. But Chenny didn't have any worries or fears in his heart, but was more excited and expectant. Not long after, Chenny adjusted his mood and started the next simulation immediately. After all, at this time, as his ability becomes stronger and stronger, the survival time is getting longer and longer. In the meantime, Chenny keeps fighting with stronger and stronger opponents. He is also constantly honing his strength. Make himself stronger. But everything has its pros and cons. It is true that the strength has become stronger in repeated experience. But it also makes him keep extending the time of each simulation. It directly leads to a reduction in the number of Chenny simulations. And the reduction in the number of simulations means that the probability of refreshing the ability and obtaining the golden ability is reduced. For Chenny now, it is obviously very important to hone himself and enhance his strength in life and death duels. But the opportunity to obtain golden abilities and solidified abilities is equally, or even more, important. After all, there are many ways to enhance one's own strength. Life and death fights are not only available in simulations. However, the opportunity to enhance oneself through solidified abilities is very limited. In theory, 5 days of simulation can get 5 golden abilities. But this is only theoretically, and there is no such guarantee in reality. No one can guarantee that a golden ability can be obtained every day of simulation. So the safest way is to rely on brushing and stacking times. This method seems unwise, but this is also a helpless way. In order to obtain golden abilities, this is the only way. Therefore, in the next few simulations, Chenny changed the cautious strategy when fighting with others in the previous simulations. Instead, he had to adopt more bold and unexpected moves and plans. Among them, although most of them did not have good results. After all, when facing these real shadow-level strongmen, steady, step by step, is the best way. Excessive eagerness for quick success will only expose one's own flaws too early. But it wasn't completely without any effect. First of all, it was obvious. The number of times the ability was refreshed increased significantly. Secondly, there were some good points in those bold and unexpected attempts, and they were not necessarily completely undesirable. In this way, time passed little by little. Chenny simulated again and again. Many strange ideas were confirmed. However, the golden ability that he had been waiting for a long time was never seen. Yuhi Kurenai and Azuki Yugao came to visit on their own initiative. The timer on the wall was ticking, which was a bit harsh. In more than an hour, the Uchiha clan extermination night simulation system will once again enter a 2-day cooling period, and the opportunity to solidify the ability will be reset. But in this simulation, some purple abilities were seen. But there was no trace of the gold ability. This made Chenny somewhat disappointed. Could it be that he really had to use a purple ability to make up for it in the end? But if he didn't choose it, wouldn't he just waste an opportunity to solidify the ability? The power of the purple ability is certainly not as strong as the gold ability. But it can also be regarded as a strong force. It can be regarded as a significant enhancement. However, this is not what Chenny wants. Chenny exhaled a long breath, and gradually calmed down his heart, which seemed a little impatient because of the approaching time. There was not much time left for him. He had to speed up and increase the number of rotations. After all, the opportunity to improve oneself through life and death battles is not only available in simulations. It can also be encountered in real life. It's just that the degree of danger is somewhat high. However, the chances of obtaining golden abilities and solidifying them are very limited. There are a maximum of 5 times, and once you miss it, it will be gone. Then, Chenny once again simulated today. In order to speed up the number of simulations and thus increase the chances of refreshing abilities, Chenny tried every possible means. In just 1 hour, it was refreshed more than 20 times. Among them, there are also some abilities that seem quite powerful. For example, Corpse Vein, Earth Grudge, etc. But the golden abilities are still nowhere to be seen. Chenny continued to simulate. Finally, when the simulation was about to end, he saw a row of golden abilities. I finally waited for you. Fortunately, I didn't give up. I didn't even see it clearly. Chenny quickly selected the ability to solidify it. At this time, there were only a few minutes left before the Uchiha clan extermination night simulation system entered the cooling state. There was no need to simulate anymore. Chenny then looked carefully at the golden abilities that he had obtained by refreshing desperately again and again. 80 God's Air Strike, Golden Ability, a type of bloodline net that maximizes chakra and transforms it into countless powerful punches, thus bringing an extremely powerful fist wind. Shake the Sky with the Way of the Gods, an attack and defense, a ruthless fist. Chenny's eyes flashed with obvious joy. 80 God's Air Strike. Kagaya Otsutsuki's bloodline net. It is known as the strongest physical technique in Naruto. It is somewhat similar to Might Guy's Day Tiger and Neji's Kaden, but it is more than a little bit stronger. It can be said that it is not in the same order of magnitude. In the original Naruto world, Kagaya Otsutsuki even shattered Sasuke's Susanoo with the 80 God's Air Strike. Such a powerful attack power is even stronger than Yikai with all 8 gates open. Just like the last sentence in the system introduction. Shake the Sky with the Way of the Gods, an attack and defense, a ruthless fist. However, how powerful can the ability or ninjutsu be? The decision is not the ability or ninjutsu itself. It depends on the person. It's like an ordinary fire escape technique. Fire escape, Great Fireball technique. This ninjutsu, if performed by an ordinary genin, Chenny, or Uchiha Madara, the effect is very different. There is no comparison at all. Therefore, for Chenny now, even if he obtains the 80 God's Air Strike, it does not mean that he has the ability to kill everything in seconds like Kagaya Otsutsuki. The novel was taken from the Raleigh's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. This is obviously impossible. No matter what, it is gradual, and there is no such thing as ascending to heaven in one step or achieving it in one fell swoop. Chenny did not have too many expectations in this regard. As the ability solidified, Chenny felt a clear sense of discomfort and some pain. However, as it was completely solidified, the original discomfort slowly receded and turned into a powerful energy flowing in the body. Chenny opened his eyes and exhaled. Finally, he finished the task before the system entered the cooling stage. Now he can clearly feel the huge improvement in his own strength after solidifying the 80 God's Air Strike. He is sure that if he faces the siege of the Root Organization Ninja again, it will definitely not be as troublesome as before. An 80 God's Air Strike. All the ninjas who approached him had to kneel down. Uchiha Itachi, Orochimaru, and Danzo had to temporarily avoid the sharp edge when facing such a powerful attack. As for the first and second generations of the Impure World reincarnation, they were not at their peak strength at all. With the 80 God's Air attacks, Chenny, who had greatly increased his strength, was confident that he could defeat them. Chenny's eyes suddenly looked outside the door. Through the sharp insight of the Mangekyo Sharingan, he felt that someone was coming. 2 people. They did not deliberately hide their whereabouts. They were not masked men or Danzo's people, and they did not seem to have any hostility towards him. However, Chenny lived in a remote place. He himself rarely contacted others and had no friends. Who would come to see him? Knock, knock. Sure enough, not long after, there was a knock on the door. After a slight pause, someone said, "Chenny-kun, are you there?" It was a crisp and pleasant girl's voice. Yuhi Kurenai. What is she doing here? Chenny recognized the owner of the voice, and with a teleportation technique, he came to the door and opened it. Outside the door, 2 female ninjas stood there. The one on the left had curly hair, big round eyes, and a hint of charm in her purity. The one on the right had long purple hair and a knife on her back, looking cool and a bit aloof. They were Yuhi Yugao and Azuki Yugao, who had gone out with Chenny to complete the mission. 1,000 Nights. It seemed that they were caught off guard by Chenny's sudden appearance. A look of panic appeared on the faces of Yuhi Hong and Mao Yu Shiyan. After seeing Chenny, they couldn't help but half lower their heads, and the words they had prepared disappeared all at once, turning into a blank. It was only a few days since the last time they completed the task. But for some reason, when they saw Chenny this time, they still had a distinctly different feeling. This different feeling is not a change in appearance. It's the state and temperament of the whole person. Compared with before, it seems to be deeper and more majestic. Occasionally, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes, which was even more frightening, and his heart trembled. It's really hard to imagine. They are both ninjas, and their ages are not much different. But they are not at the same level at all. And that almost impeccable handsome face. Just looking at it makes people intoxicated and unable to extricate themselves. What's the matter? Chenny waited for a while, but didn't wait for Shiri Hong and Mao Yuxian to speak, so he took the initiative to speak. Shiri Hong and Mao Yuxian, whose minds were originally blank, were interrupted and reacted. They came here with serious business. Shiri Hong said, "It's like this. We just received a mission, but another member of our team is still injured, so we would like to ask Chenny-jun to join us." At the Konoha Guard Department, the head of the Fugaku clan has already agreed. Finally, Azuki Yugao also added, "Okay, since the security department has already made arrangements, Chenny certainly has no reason to refuse and agreed very readily." Afterwards, Mao Yuxian and Shihai Kurenai briefly introduced the mission to Chenny and what it was specifically about. The three of them walked and talked as they headed to the agreed place. This is just a very ordinary sea-level mission, and you don't even have to leave the village to complete it. The only bad thing is that it is troublesome and requires manpower. Otherwise, Chenny would not be specially invited. Therefore, in addition to the team of Chenny, Shihai Kurenai, and Mao Yuxian, there is another team to do it together. They are Hayate, Sarutobi Asuma and Might Guy. Uchiha the clan lived on the edge of Konoha village. After walking out of the Uchiha clan's settlement and walking for a distance, they finally arrived at Konoha village. As soon as he entered the village, Chenny felt something was unusual. He watched them whispering from a distance, but when he got closer, they suddenly became quiet, and their eyes were full of vigilance. Without much guessing, Chenny also knew what the source was. Among the three of them, Azuki Yugao and Yuhi Kurenai are both from Konoha village. The villagers naturally wouldn't treat them like this. Obviously, it was all because of him, or the Uchiha clan. It turned out that the conflict between Konoha and the Uchiha clan had reached this point. Even ordinary people, there was also hostility between them. Chenny's expression was calm, and there was no change from beginning to end. He was not a glass heart. He didn't care what these indifferent people said or did, and he was too lazy to pay attention. But Mao Yuxian and Yuhi Hong looked a little unnatural. They asked Chenny to help, but they didn't expect such a thing to happen on the road. The conflict between Uchiha and Konoha was known to even ordinary villagers, let alone them. But in their hearts, they have always hated fighting and loved peace. From the bottom of their hearts, they hoped that the Uchiha clan and Konoha could live in harmony. However, with their strength as mere chunin, their status was not high. Obviously there is no way to change anything. The first moment they noticed the abnormality, Shihi Hong and Mao Yuxian both subconsciously glanced in the direction of Chenny. They were afraid that this would anger Chenny. When they saw that Chenny's handsome face did not seem to be angry, but rather a nonchalant expression, their hearts eased a little. Several people quickened their pace and passed this road. Facing the strange eyes of the people around them, no one wanted to stay here for long. At this moment, a voice with some surprise suddenly came from not far away. The voice was crisp and tender, with a bit of innocence, very pleasant to the ear. It just seemed a little weak and shy. "Brother Chenny." The three turned around and saw a little girl greeting them. The girl's voice was not loud. It was just that no one was talking nearby and it was quite quiet, so people could hear it clearly. The girl was about 6 or 7 years old. She had short dark blue hair and a face as delicate as a porcelain doll, very cute. One thing worth noting is that the girl's eyes were white. This also explained the girl's origin. One of the most prominent families in Konoha village. The Hyuga clan. And this little girl was the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan leader, Hyuga Hinata. Hinata. Seeing Hinata, Azuki Yugao and Yuhi Kurenai greeted her warmly. They all liked this kind, gentle, and somewhat shy little girl. Chenny's extremely handsome face also showed a rare warmth. In his previous life, he had a very good impression of Hinata. After traveling through time and several contacts, this good impression not only did not decrease, but even deepened a lot. However, this good impression is definitely not a love between men and women. After all, Hinata is only 6 or 7 years old now. Too young. Of course, what we are talking about here is age. Little Hinata looked at Yuhi Kurenai, Azuki Yugao, and Chenny with a pair of white eyes like gemstones, and quickly lowered her head. There was a little blush on her fair, translucent, and extremely delicate face. I don't know why she suddenly became shy. Miss, why are you here? The clan leader is waiting for you to welcome the Unying village together. A middle-aged man who looked like a butler walked over quickly, and suddenly saw Chenny standing beside him. His eyes suddenly changed, and there was a hint of vigilance and panic in his eyes. He directly pulled Hinata up and walked away, and kept saying something in Hinata's ear. Little Hinata looked puzzled, struggling and looking back. But unfortunately, she was too weak and couldn't break free. She was still taken away. Such a change happened suddenly. Mao Yu Shiyan and Shiri Hong were a little confused, and didn't understand why it happened suddenly. Why did the butler take Hinata away in a hurry? Chenny had already seen through everything. Of course, this happened because of his identity. The conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha village. Little Hinata is still young, and maybe she doesn't understand it yet. But how could the person who can become a butler and take care of little Hinata be an ordinary person? The strength may not be high, but the treatment and eyesight are definitely not bad. So, Hinata was taken away as soon as possible. After all, Hinata's identity is too extraordinary. She is the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan leader and is regarded as the future successor of the Hyuga clan. However, now she is in close contact with the Uchiha clan in such a public occasion. If this matter gets out, it will be very disadvantageous to the Hyuga clan. The third Hokage may not think much about it, but Danzo is different. This kind of thing must not happen. Therefore, the scene just now happened. What the butler did is the best choice for the Hyuga clan. At this critical juncture, with Hinata's identity, she really shouldn't have contact with him, or anyone from the Uchiha clan. Let's go, Chenny said lightly, turned around and left. Oh, Shiri Hong and Mao Yu Shiyan also reacted. They stopped thinking about what just happened. The three of them walked to the agreed place together. When Chenny, Yuhi Kurenai, and Azuki Yugao arrived at the agreed location, Asuma, Hayate, and Asuma were already there. Seeing Chenny and the other two approaching, Might Guy immediately ran over. Chenny, I heard that you defeated Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. That's amazing. As he spoke, an arm came over. Chenny frowned slightly and took a step back, just avoiding it. Of course, he knew that Might Guy had no ill intentions. It's just, although they graduated from the same class, they are not close at all. It's really unbearable to be so close to each other. Might Guy's outstretched hand stopped in midair for a moment, and then laughed. Ha 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 ha, Chenny, how about we have a physical contest? He gave a thumbs up and showed his unusually bright white teeth. Chenny was immediately upset. Beside him, Azuki Yugao, Yuhi Kurenai, Sarutobi Asuma, and Hayate also smiled unconsciously, twitching. Might Guy is still as thick-skinned as ever. Stop. We still have tasks to complete. How can we let Chenny compete with you? Shuri Hong said. Mao Yu Shiyan also said, Chenny is the one we invited to help. Might Guy was stunned, still a little reluctant. But in the end he smiled and said, okay, let's compete again after we complete the task. Chenny, you must not refuse. Well, okay. Qian Yi did not refuse. He was not familiar with Might Guy, but he respected him very much. He was a boy with ordinary qualifications. He did not have an innate inherited bloodline, nor did he have unparalleled talent. Such people are everywhere in Konoha village. Some chose other ways and gave up the road of ninja. Some relied on age to barely become chunin and lived a hasty life. But Might Guy was different. He was not the most favored by God, and he did not have the power of ancient and glorious bloodline. But he was the most hardworking. No matter what seemingly impossible things he encountered, he would try his best to do it. Trying hard, but not succeeding, did not change his beliefs at all. If you try hard and still don't succeed, then keep trying. Try hard again. As long as you work hard, you will be rewarded. As the saying goes, anything that can't beat him will make him stronger. Under such a creed in life, Might Guy grew up step by step, from an ordinary boy in the ninja village, to a leader among his generation now. Even more than 10 years later, in the ninja world war that shocked the world, Might Guy, this boy who was once so ordinary that he couldn't be more ordinary, will burst out with a power that will amaze the legendary Uchiha Madara. For such a person, how can people not respect him? Moreover, since Chenny has the physique of the Otsutsuki and his strength has greatly increased. He has never fought with a real master of physical skills. Now is a good opportunity. Well, then, let's have a real fight. Might Guy once again made his signature move. He raised his thumb and showed his unusually bright white teeth. At this time, Asuma, Sarutobi and Hayate also came over. The 6 people gathered together and began to assign tasks. With Chenny's help this time, our mission should be completed quickly. Shihi Hong smiled and thanked Chenny. Mao Yu Shiyan beside him also smiled and nodded. Their mission this time was not complicated. It was mainly troublesome. As Chenny's status as a senior ninja, he would basically not be assigned such a mission. But this time, because their team was short of people, they were forcibly pulled over again. Shihi Hong and Mao Yu Shiyan were very grateful in their hearts. Oh, what's so great about that? Jai Feng snorted, somewhat sourly. Mao Yu Shiyan was cold and seldom smiled. But today she was so generous with her smile. That smile was so beautiful. Like dewdrops on the first melting of ice and snow, like flowers blooming in spring. It was a pity that this smile was not for him. We have more than one Jonin here. Asuma and Kai were also promoted to Jonin this year. Hayate said. Hearing Hayate's words, Kai once again raised his thumb, showing his unusually white and shining teeth, and made his signature move. Sarutobi Asuma subconsciously straightened his chest, raised his head a little, and said in a deep voice, I'm here, no accidents. However, when he looked at Yuhi Kurenai, he found that Yuhi Kurenai didn't even look at him, and her eyes were still on Chenny. This ignited the anger in Asuma's heart. But, after all, Yuhi Kurenai is watching by his side. He can't be too ungraceful. In addition, Chenny defeated Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Although he always had some doubts in his heart about the value of this. But, defeat is defeat. This cannot be false. Recently, the name Uchiha Chenny is in the limelight. Asuma there was no certainty that she could defeat Chenny. Therefore, she couldn't take action. If she lost, it would be such a disgrace. She had to keep all this in mind. She secretly made up her mind to perform well in the next mission and prove in front of Yuhi Kurenai that she was no worse than Uchiha Chenny. Yuhi Kurenai sighed secretly in her heart. After so long, she would certainly understand Asuma's feelings for her. She just pretended not to understand. Originally, in her heart, although Asuma was plain-looking, loved to smoke, and had a lot of minor problems. But to her there is really nothing to say. In addition, in terms of family background, Asuma is the son of the 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. In terms of personal strength, he can be ranked among the Jonin at a young age. Among the younger generation, he is not the best, but he is also one of the best. Seeing such a person pursuing her so hard, Yuhi Kurenai's heart would inevitably be moved. It's just, since the last mission with Chenny. I don't know why, Chenny's calm face without a trace of ripples when facing Kuroki Raiga often appeared in her mind. And that plain but domineering sentence, don't be afraid, I'm here. Whenever she thought of it, her heart would warm up. At the same time, it also made her more distant and repulsive to Asuma's love. Asuma is not bad, it's just that he is not the one she wants. She only hopes that Asuma can come back as soon as possible and stop wasting time and energy on her. The same goes for Mao Yu Shiyan. If there is no Qian Yi, perhaps Ji Feng may not be impossible. But now everything is different. Chenny, Yuhi Kurenai, Azuki Yugao, Asuma, Might Guy, and Hayate gathered together and soon assigned the tasks and started to implement them. Among them, for some reason, Asuma and Hayate seemed particularly active and capable. They even took away a lot of tasks from others. Might Guy exclaimed upon seeing this is youth, and youth should fight and struggle at all costs. He then joined Asuma and Hayate impatiently. Yuhi Kurenai and Azuki Yugao were both stunned. What happened today? Did he take the wrong medicine? Might Guy is easier to deal with. After all, such a person is difficult to judge by common sense. Those who understand will understand. Why are Asuma and Hayate like this too? They are still scrambling to do such a hard job. Chenny is happy to be idle, doing things slowly, without deliberately speeding up or slacking off. Someone helps him do the task, and he doesn't have to pay any price. Such free labor, please bring a few more. Night. The bright moon cast a pool of silvery white light. Everything it illuminated was coated with a layer of gauze. Everything on the ground changed color, like a pool of spring water. Little Hinata lay on a rocking chair in the yard, looking at the night sky that was gradually becoming azure and deep. But she was still thinking about what happened during the day. On the way home today, the housekeeper said a lot to her. After returning home, her father also said a lot to her. She understood a little, but not completely. They were all people from Konoha village, so why were they so incompatible? And, could she really never see her brother Chenny again and talk to her brother Chenny? In front of little Hinata's big and bright white eyes, the night sky gradually became hazy and turned into another picture. It was a snowy afternoon. A little girl about 3 or 4 years old was walking alone on a secluded path. The little girl's face was a little red from the cold, and her hands and feet were extremely cold. At this time, if you look closely, you will find that the little girl in the picture is actually somewhat similar to Hinata. It was what happened when little Hinata was younger. The cold wind blew, blowing the snowflakes on the ground and trees into the air. It was even colder. Little Hinata tightened her clothes and walked forward quickly. However, she didn't go far. In front of her, a few children who were slightly older than her blocked her way. "Stop and hand over the money you have on you, otherwise you won't be able to pass." I don't have any money." Hinata was a little scared and subconsciously took 2 steps back, saying weakly. "No money. I want to see if you have it," the leading child said, and then he waved his hand and all the children around him came forward. No, I really didn't." Little Hinata was so scared that she was shaking all over, with tears in the corners of her eyes, and she stepped back step by step. When she wasn't paying attention, she was knocked down by a stone buried in the snow behind her and fell to the ground. Several naughty children took the opportunity to surround Hinata and were about to attack her. Hinata curled up and buried her head in her knees, ready to endure the beating. However, the imagined pain did not come. When she was confused, a gentle voice suddenly came to her ears. "It's okay, get up." Hinata slowly raised her head. The children who had surrounded her had disappeared. Instead, there was an extremely handsome boy who was reaching out to her to pull her up. At that time, she had only one thought in her mind. Oh my God, how could there be such a good-looking person? That handsome guy was undoubtedly Chenny. Chenny helped little Hinata up, brushed off the snow on his body, and then took little Hinata home. The last scene in Hinata's eyes was a boy with a little girl walking in a world of pink and white, gradually going farther and farther. Only 2 sets of shallow footprints were left. That was the trace they left together. "Brother Chenny," Hinata murmured, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously raised a shallow arc. At this moment, a figure suddenly flashed before her eyes, and her eyes went black, and the whole person lost consciousness and fainted. On the other side, after working hard for several hours, Chenny and his companions finally completed the mission. They were exhausted. Especially Asuma and Hayate, who performed particularly well in the mission. They were almost exhausted and could hardly walk. Might Guy's situation was slightly better. But it was definitely not much better. Even the originally agreed competition was no longer mentioned. There was no way, there was really no strength. Yuhi Kurenai and Azuki Yugao were also a little tired. Although they did the least in the process, but after all, they were girls, and their physical fitness was slightly worse. In addition, these two were not ninjas who were good at physical skills. Such a situation was not uncommon. Chenny was the only one who looked calm. For him, with the physique of Otsutsuki, all this was nothing. A group of 6 people walked on the way home. As they walked, Chenny suddenly noticed something keenly. Looking sideways, he saw a figure holding something and leaping at high speed under the moonlight. It didn't look like a ninja from Konoha village. However, Chenny did not stop him, nor did he say much. For him, because of the conflict between Konoha and the Uchiha clan. He and Konoha are enemies, not friends. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Why should he meddle in other people's business? However, after walking a few steps, Chenny suddenly stopped. Because he was very keenly aware of a very familiar breath. Hinata. The figure was holding Hinata. If it was something else, or someone else, Chenny might not care, but Hinata was different. He didn't want to, and he couldn't ignore it. Seeing Chenny suddenly stopped, Yuhi Kurenai asked. What happened? Everyone else also looked over. Chenny stared into the distance and said lightly, someone invaded, in this direction. Invasion. Hearing these two words, the faces of several people changed slightly. This is a big deal and must be reported immediately. Might Guy ran directly to Chenny's side, imitating Chenny's appearance and looking into the distance. But, except for the darkness and the moonlight of Sister Zhao, he could not see anything. Hee, what for an invasion, it's impossible. Asuma sneered. In fact, when Chenny just said it, he was really shocked. But soon, he reacted. This is unlikely. As the son of the third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, Sarutobi Asuma's knowledge is far beyond that of ordinary ninjas. That's why he was able to deduce it so quickly. Our Konoha village doesn't seem to be guarded by many people, but that's just on the surface. In fact, all the key entrances and exits to the village are closely guarded by the Anbu people, so it is not possible for just anyone to enter. You should all know who the Anbu are. Who could come in under their guard? What's more, you may not know it, hee. Sarutobi Asuma laughed, with a mysterious and proud look on his face. In fact, there has always been an invisible power shield around our Konoha village. This layer of power is invisible and transparent, we can't even see it clearly. Under normal circumstances, as long as people from Konoha village enter and exit, there will be no problem. However, as long as a stranger passes by, an alarm will be sounded immediately, and the Hokage and the Anbu ninjas will know about it at the first time and counterattack. How could a stranger get in with such tight security? After saying that, he laughed again, and there was a hint of sarcasm in his eyes when he looked at Chenny. Boy, you finally fell into my hands. Ji Feng laughed and said, Asuma really deserves to be the son of the Hokage, he knows a lot. Otherwise, we would have been deceived. Might Guy, Azuki Yugao, and Yuhi Kurenai were a little skeptical. Chenny did not explain too much. At this critical moment, if he stayed to explain slowly, I'm afraid Hinata would have been taken out of Konoha long ago. He disappeared from the spot with a flash of body technique. Wait for me, Might. Guy chased after him without much hesitation. For some reason, he trusted Chenny more than Asuma. Azuki Yugao and Yuhi Kurenai looked at each other. We will go too. It would be great if nothing happens. If anything happens, we can take care of it. After saying that, he chased after them. Asuma, Sarutobi and Hayate had to follow them as well. The six of them moved quickly under the moonlight, one in front and one behind. The one in the front was Chie. A little later was Might Guy. Behind them were Kurenai Yuhi, Azuki Yugao, Asuma and Hayate. At the beginning, the gap between them was not too big. But later, only Might Guy could barely keep up. But it was just barely. Even if Might Guy tried his best, the gap between the two was still widening rapidly at a very fast speed. Later, even Might Guy was left far behind and could not catch up. Really, it's hard to believe. You know, Might Guy's physical skills are even slightly inferior to Konoha's genius ninja Kakashi Hatake. Now he has been left behind. Especially Asuma and Hayate. Others may not know it very well, but the two of them know clearly how strong Might Guy's ninjutsu is. But now, Uchiha Chie has reached that level. On the other side, Chie performed the instant body technique at the fastest speed, and soon caught up with the figure. The man wore a mask and a nightgown. The person in his arms was Hinata. Seeing someone blocking the way, the man did not say a word and directly performed ninjutsu. Thunder Escape, Thunder Ball. A ball full of electric arcs, emitting strong energy, flew towards Chenny. Electricity is an extremely fast existence in nature, and it is difficult to see its tracks clearly before being hit. Boom! Chenny was hit by the thunder ball and exploded on the spot, creating a large deep pit. Oh, you dare to block the way. The man laughed contemptuously and prepared to leave without looking back. After all, the noise just now was not small, and it must have alarmed some people. He must leave as soon as possible. While thinking, he planned to leave instantly. However, he was suddenly stunned. He couldn't move, his whole body couldn't move at all. He looked down subconsciously. He saw that he had been tied to the tree at some point. In front of him, Uchiha Chenny, who had been killed by the thunder ball, stood in front of him unscathed. This, how is it possible? The man widened his eyes, shocked, could it be that everything from just now was an illusion? I have been under the illusion from the beginning. Chenny looked calm. Easily dealing with such a small character did not make him excited. According to the strength classification of Konoha, this was just an elite Jonin. He could easily deal with it without revealing any of his cards. Chenny walked forward and took off the mask on the man's face. What was revealed was a strange face that Chenny had never seen before. However, seeing this face does not mean that you don't know this person. This person wore a forehead protector on his head. That was clearly the symbol of the hidden Cloud Village. Are you the messenger from Cloud Shadow Village? Now that you know, why don't you let me go? Do you want to provoke a war in the ninja world? Even though the messenger of the Cloud Shadow Village was captured, he did not give in at all and was still arrogant. Chenny ignored him, but he couldn't help but think of something in his heart. In the original Naruto world, there was indeed such an incident where Hinata was captured. But she was encountered and killed by Hyuga Heihachi, Hinata's father. Afterwards, the Cloud Shadow Village threatened to kill the messenger and must get Hyuga Heihachi's body, otherwise they would go to war, in order to get the Hyuga clan's bloodline limit by Akugan. Afterwards, Hyuga Heihachi's younger brother Hyuga Hazashi died instead, and the matter was understood. It was obviously the people of the Cloud Hidden Village who came to snatch Hinata and were beaten to death. In the end, they still had to sacrifice the life of the Hyuga family. Nothing else. It is said that the third generation is too weak. This is true both to the outside world and to the inside. Even an envoy from the Cloud Shadow Village dares to speak so arrogantly. It can be seen that peace won by groveling is not peace. Looking at the arrogant appearance of the Cloud Shadow Village envoy, Chenny sneered. The Cloud Shadow Village envoy, the Ninja World War. Others may be a little afraid, but it is of no use to him. In fact, wouldn't it be a better choice to kill the envoy directly and cause some trouble for Konoha? Such an expression directly made the Cloud Shadow Village envoy feel cold in his heart, and the whole person felt like falling into an ice cave. He felt a very pure killing intent. This young ninja will really kill him. You, what do you want to do? You can't kill me, you can't. At this point, the Yunying village messenger finally showed a bit of fear on his face. However, this did not change Chenny's inner thoughts. Search. A kunai was thrown out of Chenny's hand. Bang! It pierced the Yunying village messenger's throat. Blood spurted out immediately. The Yunying village messenger vomited blood, his mouth was full of blood foam, and he opened and closed his mouth, but he could not speak a word clearly. Finally, his head sank, and his life ended. Easily killed the Cloud Shadow village messenger and saved Hinata. Chenny first roughly checked Hinata's body to see if there were any injuries. Fortunately, it was not serious. Chenny, brother Chenny, am I dreaming? Hinata barely opened her tired eyes and murmured. But before she could wake up, she fainted again. Not long after, Asuma, Hayate, Might Guy, Azuki Yugao and Yuhi Kurenai also rushed over. Seeing this bloody scene, several people couldn't help but look a little ugly. Is it Hinata? Is Hinata okay? Yuhi Kurenai and Azuki Yugao asked with concern. Well, it's not serious, just fainted temporarily. Chenny replied. After hearing Chenny's words, the people present were relieved and turned their attention to the bloody corpse. Who is he? Might Guy put away his usual carefree look and asked in a serious tone. Chenny pointed at the man's forehead protector and said, he is from the Hidden Cloud Village. Yukakage Village. Asuma frowned. Today, I just heard from my father that an envoy from Yunkage Village came to visit the Hyuga clan. Could it be that it is him? But what did he want to do by kidnapping Hinata? He didn't understand. Hayate, Yuhi Kurenai, and Azuki Yugao beside him were also puzzled. As for Might Guy, he was not known for his high IQ. Several people stared at each other with puzzled eyes. Chenny, what do you think? Yuhi Kurenai looked at Chenny and asked. Azuki Yugao, Might Guy, and even Asuma and Hayate, who had some hostility towards Chenny in their hearts, all looked over. Usually, they might have some disputes over some unimportant things. But when it comes to big things, no one will have any barriers in their hearts, and they must be united against the outside world. Although Konoha's set of ideas is a bit pedantic, it also has its unique features. It can pull everyone's spirit and thoughts together. This has become a force that cannot be underestimated. Chenny did not answer directly but asked back, "What is the Hyuga clan most famous for?" Quote, "Buy-in," Asuma blurted out, and then his expression changed slightly. Because he had thought of something. The others also understood it instantly. Taking Hinata away, of course, was for the Byakugan. The secret of the Byakugan. Several people were silent for a moment. They couldn't help but feel extremely heavy in their hearts. This matter is of great importance. We must tell the third generation and let the third generation decide. Asuma made the decision immediately. Killing the messenger of the Cloud Shadow Village is no small matter. Any mistake will cause a war between the Cloud Shadow Village and the Konoha Village. This is no longer a responsibility that a few Chunin and Jonin can bear. The Hokage must be told about this matter. To this end, no one present objected. So, Asuma, as the son of the Hokage, went alone to report the news. The rest of the people stayed where they were, guarding the body to prevent any accidents. After Asuma left, Hayate and Might Guy stood guard around carefully to prevent any accidents. Yuhi Kurenai and Azuki Yugao came to help take care of Hinata, who fainted. Chenny stood alone on the tree trunk, looking at the darkness in front of him indifferently. He clearly remembered that Hinata was kidnapped by the messenger of the Cloud Hidden Village. It did not happen on the eve of the Uchiha clan extermination. Even if it happened, it should have been Hinata's father Hyuga Hazashi who discovered and stopped it, not him who had just completed the task. It seems that as he traveled to this world, many things are not set in stone. For example, Hinata was kidnapped this time, and Orochimaru appeared on the night of the clan extermination, and the first and second generations of Hokage were resurrected. This reminded Chenny that he can't always look at things with the same ideas as before. He must have his own thinking, be careful and cautious, so that he can be successful in everything. However, what Chenny didn't know was that right in front of him, in the darkness in the distance, a vortex slowly appeared. It sucked in the two people who were hiding there. When they came out again, they had already reached the Hokage Rock. There was shock and deep greed in Orochimaru's eyes. We were discovered. Such a terrifying perception from such a distance. Is this the Sharingan? What a terrifying power. Beside him, the masked man was as deep, majestic and calm as usual. But his heart was not as calm as he looked on the surface. When he found out that the people from Kumokage village kidnapped Hinata, he followed quietly from behind. With his cage-level strength and the bug-level space ninjutsu of Kamui space, he didn't have to worry about being discovered. After seeing Chenny join in, he deliberately distanced himself, just because he didn't want to be discovered by Chenny. But now, he was discovered again. Is this the perception of the three Magatama Sharingan? I'm a little curious about how far the perception and insight of the Mangekyo Sharingan can go. Orochimaru asked with his usual cold smile on his face. As the most science-obsessed ninja in Konoha village back then, he had done a deep study of the Sharingan. The three Magatama Sharingan corresponds to three abilities: insight, replication, and illusion. The strength of these three abilities is not absolute. It depends on the person himself. The stronger the person, the stronger the ability. But this strength also has a limit. The three Magatama Sharingan's abilities in all aspects are completely inferior to the Mangekyo Sharingan. This is a qualitative difference. The perception of the three Magatama Sharingan has reached such a terrifying level. Then wouldn't the Mangekyo Sharingan be? The masked man put one hand behind his back. Did not say a word, maintaining his usual demeanor as a master. It's not that he didn't want to say it, but he couldn't explain it. Even with the insight of his Mangekyo Sharingan, he simply couldn't have such a terrifying perception. How could Chenny, with only three Magatama Sharingan? This is impossible. Or, has Uchiha Chenny already opened the Mangekyo Sharingan? If it is true, this is too terrifying. Extraordinary physical skills, coupled with the Mangekyo Sharingan. Such strength has already exceeded his expectations. But fortunately, he had found Orochimaru before. That ninjutsu, although not perfect. But it is enough to deal with the current situation. Is your preparation okay? The masked man asked. Don't worry, I guarantee there won't be any mistakes. Orochimaru said with a smile. He had absolute confidence in this ninjutsu. Well, that's good. The masked man nodded. His eyes were fixed on the distance. The plan for the night of genocide was coming, and he didn't want to see any more accidents. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.